Chapter 1250. Xian rushed into the air, and a golden light rushed up from the bottom of the sea. Roar! A dragon's roar resounded through the sky as the golden dragon waved its 6 golden claws. It opened its mouth wide and broke out of the water, bringing with it a sky full of water droplets that reflected the golden light. The dragon firmly locked its eyes on Xian, who was in the air. It swayed its tail and flew in front of Xian. It roared, "Xian, you trapped me for hundreds of years. Now, I can finally take revenge." Last time, Tang Zheng stopped the golden dragon and the red moon from taking revenge because he had some expectations. The golden dragon understood this very well. This time, the situation was very different. The golden dragon knew very well, so when it saw the shooting sun arrow hit Xian, it could not wait to rush out. Whoosh! A strong wind blew, and Xian could not resist at all. She could only watch as the dragon's huge mouth fell from the sky and viciously bit her. She struggled and tried to escape from the dragon's mouth. How could that be possible? The golden dragon hated her to the bone. It wanted to bite her into pieces and swallow her. Xian was hit by the shooting sun arrow, and her internal organs were greatly damaged. Now that she was bitten by the dragon, even an immortal would not be able to escape. On the sea, when the others saw this scene, their eyes lit up and they were very satisfied. Xian had been scheming, and now she finally knew what it was like to play with fire. Splash! Tang Zheng broke out of the water and floated in the air, staring at Xian. He could understand the 5-clawed golden dragon's anger, so he did not stop it. He stepped in front of Xian. Xian stared at him with a pair of bloodshot eyes. "Xian, you have failed." Tang Zheng gnashed his teeth and said with a murderous aura. Xian was very clear about her situation. She had no one to rely on and had touched Tang Zheng's reverse scale. This was enough to explain her fate, but she was a person who was afraid of death and cherished her life very much. How could she bear to die like this? She had been scheming and playing with the world in the palm of her hand for so long. How could she be willing to accept this? She took her last breath and said with great difficulty, "Tang Zheng, if you kill me, then you will never know the secret of the Outland." Tang Zheng shook his head. "Compared to the secrets of the Outland, what you did just now has crossed my bottom line. You dare to touch my woman. From that moment on, you have already sentenced yourself to death." The corners of Xian's mouth twitched fiercely as she said, "It's just a woman. There are so many women in the world. With your ability, you can get any woman you want. Why care about a mere woman? If you join forces with me, not only will you have a place in this world, but you will also have a place in the beyond heaven." Although Xian was a woman, her mindset was that of the ancient times. She didn't even see herself as a woman. The ancients had 3 wives and 4 concubines. Very few people valued a woman so much. Therefore, she could not understand Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's eyes turned cold. "What a big pie. Unfortunately, compared to my woman, this pie you've painted for me is worthless. Why bother? Throughout history, those who love beauties over their country all had bad endings. Don't tell me you want to follow in their footsteps." Xian tried to persuade him. "You cold-blooded woman. You don't know the value of true love. You don't have the right to make thoughtless remarks." Tang Zheng vehemently complained. Xuaning's heart sank. Her silver tongue had bewitched many people in the past. Emperors, generals, ministers, ambitious and ruthless people. No one could resist her. Now that she had met her Waterloo, she couldn't bewitch Tang Zheng at all. "Am I, Xian, really going to die here? No, I can't accept this. I can't die." Xuaning's heart screamed. Looking at Tang Zheng's eyes, she knew that he had made up his mind. If he really wanted to kill her, even if she lost her mind like last time, he wouldn't show mercy. Her heart was in turmoil. Her despair completely overwhelmed the pain in her body. "Why are you talking so much nonsense with her? She's done all kinds of bad things. If you don't kill her, it won't be enough to vent your hatred. If you can't do it, I'll do it." The golden dragon's voice sounded. It bit Xian, and its voice sounded a bit muffled. Tang Zheng didn't say a word. He reached out and grabbed the shooting sun arrow. Bit by bit, he pulled it back. Rip! The sound of the shooting sun arrow being pulled out of bone and flesh made people's hearts tremble. Blood gushed out of the wound. Ah! Xuaning's body arched, and she let out a heart-wrenching scream. Tang Zheng didn't stop. Like a master sculptor, he was meticulous and didn't want to be careless. Xuaning's scream gradually turned from high-pitched to low. In the end, only the sound of heavy breathing was left. Puff! The shooting sun arrow was completely pulled out of Xuaning's body. Blood splattered everywhere. Xianing seemed to have been choked by someone. Her breathing seemed to have stopped. Her eyes were wide open. After a few seconds, she recovered a bit of her spirit. The fear in her heart gradually spread. Her eyes widened, and she looked at Tang Zheng with a pale face. "There's no need for you to do it," Tang Zheng calmly replied to the golden dragon. The golden dragon saw this and was in high spirits. It originally thought that Tang Zheng hadn't made up his mind to kill her. Now it seemed that it had worried too much. Xuaning's kidnapping and harming of Fang Shishir was a completely wrong step. "Tang Zheng, I beg you, don't kill me." Fang Shishir couldn't care less about the pain. She also realized his determination and hurriedly begged for mercy. "It's too late." Tang Zheng didn't give her the slightest chance. Xianing still didn't give up. She thought of something and gritted her teeth. "Don't you want to know the situation in Sky Beyond Heaven? I'll tell you. As long as you don't kill me, let me live." This was her last resort. At this critical moment of life and death, she had no choice but to throw out this condition. Tang Zheng's hand paused for a moment. He looked at her with a complicated expression. Xianing saw this, and as if she had grasped at a life-saving straw, she eagerly said, "I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you everything you want to know. Don't listen to her nonsense. Her words can't be trusted at all." The golden dragon also impatiently advised, afraid that Tang Zheng would agree to her request. "No." Xianing hurriedly shook her head. "I'll tell you the truth. I won't hide anything. Otherwise, I'll die a horrible death." Tang Zheng curled his lips playfully. "Do you think I'll believe your oath?" "Huh?" Xianing was stunned, but still didn't give up. She continued, "Whether you believe it or not, my words are absolutely true." After a pause, Xuaning's heart seemed to be in a fierce struggle. After a moment, she continued, "Sky Beyond Heaven is a mysterious world. Ever since His Majesty unified Sky Beyond Heaven, Sky Beyond Heaven has been deteriorating. It's no longer as prosperous as it used to be. Sky Beyond Heaven's foundation has been destroyed and is becoming more and more unstable. I and the others were chosen as volunteers to pass through the space gate. I'm the only one who came to this world." "Stop." Tang Zheng raised his hand and stopped her. "This is something we already know. It's meaningless." Seeing Tang Zheng's impatience, Xianing knew that she had to come up with something useful. Otherwise, her life would be in danger. She no longer hid anything and said loudly, "Actually, us volunteers who passed through the space gate didn't do it of our own volition. We're all concubines of the great families." Tang Zheng was enlightened. He clicked his tongue and said, "So that's how it is. Your arrogance was all an act. You're not an important person in Sky Beyond Heaven." Xuaning's face stiffened. This was her eternal pain. She couldn't care less about Tang Zheng's ridicule. She hung her head dejectedly and said, "Yes, I'm not an important person. I don't want to return to Sky Beyond Heaven. I've already completed my mission. I expelled all the cultivators of this world to Sky Beyond Heaven to provide energy for Sky Beyond Heaven. I've done my duty." A ferocious look appeared on Xuaning's face. If she returned to Sky Beyond Heaven, she would be an insignificant character. She wouldn't be able to stand at the top of this world and live a carefree life. Tang Zheng sneered. "So that's your plan. But what use is it to me? What I want is information about Sky Beyond Heaven." I said, "The specific information about Sky Beyond Heaven isn't important. There's one thing that's more important." "What is it?" Tang Zheng raised an eyebrow. "Last time you said that over 1,000 demons have returned from Sky Beyond Heaven. Is that right?" Tang Zheng nodded. "What does this have to do with the demons?" "This means that the spatial separation between the two worlds is very weak. Otherwise, how could the demons have returned so easily?" Xianing said worriedly. "What do you mean?" Tang Zheng suddenly realized that he might have overlooked a lot of things. The spatial separation between the two worlds should be very tight. It would take a lot of effort to open a spatial gate. But now, a great array can summon over 1,000 demons. This is enough to prove that the spatial separation between the two worlds is very weak. Tang Zheng seemed to be deep in thought and raised an objection, saying, "The Mountain River Blood Sacrifice array is not an ordinary array. It is something that was exchanged with the lives of hundreds of millions of people." Xianin said disdainfully, "So what? Besides, you should remember that time when the demons summoned the demon god outside the northwest boundary. Didn't they succeed in summoning the demon god after killing only a few people? Moreover, in the past few hundred years, do you think that the demons haven't used the Mountain River Blood Sacrificial array to summon the demons? But have they succeeded? Let me tell you, they haven't succeeded even once." "What, there's such a thing?" Tang Zheng was shocked. This was something that she definitely didn't know. Perhaps the demons were too secretive in their actions in the past. Of course, the Azure Dragon Palace was an exception. Seeing Tang Zheng's shock, Xianin felt that her chances of survival were much higher. Of course, the demons haven't succeeded in the past. But now that they've succeeded several times in a row, it's enough to explain many things. I'm the only one who knows the secret behind this. Of course, now that I've told you, you'll know as well." She paused for a moment to let Tang Zheng digest this information. "So this world is not safe. The people of Sky Beyond Heaven will follow in the footsteps of the demons and invade this world." Chapter 1251. Xianin was lucky to see the dumbfounded look on everyone's faces. She thought that once this news came out, it would be enough to save her life. Tang Zheng and the Empyrean Fairy looked at each other, then looked at Xianin and came to a conclusion. Xianin was not lying. It was true. The people from the Sky Beyond Heaven would follow in the footsteps of the demons and invade this world. With the nature of the people from the Sky Beyond Heaven, they would definitely do anything. When the time came, this world would be plunged into misery and suffering. As for how many people would survive, that was unknown. What should we do? Both of them had the same question in their eyes. They were not worried about the invasion of the Sky Beyond Heaven and thought that it would be enough to deal with 1,000 demons. Now it seemed that they had misjudged the current situation. The current situation was far more dangerous than they had expected. The two of them looked at each other in dismay and wanted to ask what to do, but they were helpless. Xianin saw the clues from their expressions and volunteered, "I have a way to solve this crisis." Tang Zheng suddenly turned his head and stared at her, asking, "What way?" Xianin's lips curved into an unfathomable smile, but she did not answer. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately understood her thoughts. She wanted to use this as leverage to fight for a chance to survive. "You want to use this to threaten me?" Tang Zheng saw through her thoughts. Xianin corrected him. "It's not a threat, it's a cooperation. I don't want the people from the Sky Beyond Heaven to come to this world. If we cooperate, we can stop all of this." Tang Zheng suddenly had an idea as he looked at Xianin with a burning gaze, as if he was deep in thought. "You are worried that after those people come, you will become an insignificant person. So you have this idea, right?" Xianin did not deny it and was silent for a while. Tang Zheng saw this and continued. "As for the cooperation you mentioned, Humph, do you think you still have a chance to cooperate? You can't say that. If you cooperate with me, it will only benefit you. Besides, I'm the only one who knows how to stop the people from the Sky Beyond Heaven." Xianin looked determined. Tang Zheng's face was cold as he said, "If you tell me the method, maybe we can still talk about it." "Of course, I won't tell you the method, but I can remind you that the spatial isolation between the two worlds must be strengthened to prevent the invasion of the outer sky." Xianin looked as if she would rather be beaten to death than admit it. Instead, she deliberately revealed a few words in an attempt to whet Tang Zheng's appetite. Tang Zheng said thoughtfully, "We have to strengthen the spatial isolation between the two worlds." He didn't know the exact method, but Xianin was unwilling to tell him. This was her last resort, and with her temper, she definitely wouldn't give in so easily. After what had happened last time, Tang Zheng's hostility towards Xianin had increased. He was not prepared to compromise with her at all. Tang Zheng stared straight at her. His gaze was as sharp as a knife as he asked murderously, "I'm going to ask you one last time. Are you going to tell me or not? If you're willing to tell me, then perhaps I'll spare your life. If you insist on not telling me, then don't blame me for being ruthless." Xianyin stared at him, lost in thought. Her heart was in a fierce struggle. She really couldn't decide whether to tell Tang Zheng the truth or not. If she told him, then she wouldn't have anything to rely on and would be at Tang Zheng's mercy. This was the situation she was most worried about. If she didn't tell him and kept dragging on Tang Zheng, then Tang Zheng would most likely not take her life for the time, being out of consideration for the overall situation. Her eyes flickered and her heart was tossing and turning. Finally, she heavily exhaled a turbid breath, as if she had made up her mind, and said, "If you cooperate with me, I'll naturally tell you. Moreover, I'll give you a hand to defeat the devil race. Presumably, the devil race is an absolute threat to you now. With me, all of this won't be a problem. Hundreds of years ago, I could drive them away. Today, I can still defeat them." Xian was full of confidence, as if she had returned to the high and mighty Xian who was omnipotent. This was indeed a tempting plan. Tang Zheng's heart palpitated with eagerness, but his rationality poured a basin of cold water over his head. His heart instantly became cold, and his eyes burst with killing intent. Xian saw this scene and suppressed her palpitations, saying, "This is my bottom line. I absolutely won't compromise." "You have a bottom line, but do you think I don't?" Tang Zheng sneered and pointed at Feng Shishir in the distance. "She is my bottom line. You almost killed her, which is a violation of my bottom line. Moreover, you don't want to cooperate and even want to bargain with me. Do you think I'll let you live?" Tang Zheng's question gradually became more and more serious, forcing Xianyin's expression to change again and again. Her breathing also became heavier and heavier, to the point where she even forgot about her wound. Blood continued to drip down, dyeing the seawater below red. Hearing Tang Zheng's interrogation, the golden dragon's eyes flashed with surprise. This was the rhythm of Tang Zheng wanting to kill her. Then he could get his revenge. Xianyin's face became very pale, and she panted like a cow, saying, "Tang Zheng, don't mess around. You'll regret it. The invasion of the outer sky is not a trivial matter. It will bring disaster to the world. No one can stay out of it. Only if you and I cooperate can we stop all of this." She was still making a dying struggle, trying to save her life. She still had a trace of luck in her heart. Tang Zheng must be scaring her. She must not be scared by him. Just like last time, she must withstand the pressure to save her life. Tang Zheng turned his head and did not look at her. He had done his best, but Xianyin still had unrealistic illusions. In this case, there was nothing to talk about. As for the invasion of the outer sky, this was indeed a thorny problem, but there was nothing to be afraid of. It might not be as terrible as Xianyin said. Even if it was so terrible, so what? At worst, they could just fight. What was there to be afraid of? The most important thing was that the same problem could not be committed twice. This was something he could not tolerate. "Golden Dragon, haven't you always wanted to take revenge? She imprisoned you for hundreds of years. Today, you can finally take revenge," Tang Zheng said indifferently without turning his head. The golden dragon's eyes immediately burst with light, and its whole body emitted bursts of light. It was particularly dazzling under the sunlight. "Good." The golden dragon roared excitedly, and its huge dragon eyes locked on Xianyin. It laughed and said, "Xianyin, this is the price you have to pay for imprisoning me for hundreds of years. Go to hell." As soon as it finished speaking, the golden dragon closed its mouth with all its strength, and its sharp teeth directly sank into Xianyin's body. Crack! Xianyin's bones broke, and blood splattered everywhere. "Ah!" Xianyin opened her mouth wide, and only had time to let out half a scream before it came to an abrupt stop. Her eyes widened in disbelief. She never thought that Tang Zheng would ignore the invasion of the outer sky and kill her directly. She did not understand until she died. Crack! Crack! Chapter 1252. The others stared at the scene with their mouths agape. Who would have thought that the golden dragon would actually swallow Xianyin? An expert had fallen just like that. No one pitied her. On the contrary, they were delighted. She had only herself to blame for all the bad things she had done to the world. The others didn't expect that Tang Zheng would use such a ruthless method to have the golden dragon kill Xianyin, but they didn't stop him. Xianyin is dead, but the problem she left behind is still unsolved. What should we do? The Empyrean fairy asked. Different situations call for different measures. What's there to be afraid of? Tang Zheng was full of confidence. The Empyrean fairy looked deeply at him. It may not be as easy as you say. The key is that we have to find a way to strengthen the spatial separation between the two worlds. Tang Zheng understood that her words were reasonable and didn't argue. Don't worry, there will be a way when the time comes. Young man, let me give you a suggestion. Didn't the demons return from the realm beyond heaven? They must have a better understanding of the matters between the two worlds. Perhaps there will be unexpected gains if you discuss with them. The inner demons suddenly pointed out a maze. Tang Zheng's head twitched. He had to admit that the inner demon's words were reasonable, but the demons were his sworn enemies. How could he cooperate with them? You're really stubborn. This is a critical moment of life and death. Why are you still so worried? Are you more conservative than an ancient person like me? The inner demons reprimanded him. Tang Zheng felt ashamed as he replied, I understand. This matter is of great importance, so I cannot stubbornly stick to my own views and seal myself off. That's more like it. The inner demons smiled with gratification. Seeing that Tang Zheng was silent, the Empyrean fairy asked curiously, Have you thought of a good idea? I do have one. It's worth a try. Then hurry up and say it. Fang Shishir and Yin Xingyi also stared at Tang Zheng at the same time, waiting to see what kind of trick he would use. Regarding Xian Yin's words, the two of them were also at their wits' end. Yin Xingyi was no longer what she used to be, but she still couldn't do anything about it. We're going to find the demons to discuss countermeasures, Tang Zheng said simply. As soon as he said this, the three of them were shocked and frowned. The Empyrean fairy was the first to understand. She said thoughtfully, You think that the demon race has returned from the realm beyond heaven, so they have a better understanding of the situation and might have a solution, right? After her reminder, the other two also came to a realization. They believed that this proposal was not nonsense and might actually be feasible. Seeing that the Empyrean fairy had figured it out, she nodded and said, Yes, do you think it will work? The Empyrean fairy muttered, I think it's feasible. Good, then this is a tentative plan. We'll go back and discuss the details. Tang Zheng decided. Tang Zheng, Ding Dang, and the others must be very worried when they saw that I was captured. Hurry up and tell them. Don't let them worry. Fang Shishir suddenly said. Yes. Tang Zheng hurriedly used his divine sense to enter Sumru world and saw that everyone was as anxious as ants on a hot pan. However, they were trapped in Sumru world and had no way to contact Tang Zheng. There was nothing he could do. Tang Zheng felt ashamed and comforted them with kind words. Only then did everyone gradually calm down. Shishir isn't hurt, is she? Yi Ding Dang asked with concern. The two of them had gone through many trials and tribulations together. They were already as close as sisters. Shishir only suffered some superficial wounds. She's fine. What about Xianyin? Feng Xinyang asked again. She's dead. Good. Yi Ding Dang abhorred evil and immediately applauded. She has done so many bad things and even kidnapped Shishir. This is what she deserves. Tang Zheng comforted them with kind words and then withdrew his divine sense from Sumru world. The four of them stood on the sea. Fang Shishir's cultivation was the weakest, so she couldn't stand on the sea for long. In the end, she could only rely on Tang Zheng to support her. She had just been frightened and injured, so Tang Zheng couldn't bear to let her return to Sumru world. He decided to take her with him and travel with him. The golden dragon soared above the sea, sparkling with golden light. It was very happy that it had gotten its revenge. It let out deafening dragon roars one after another. Fortunately, this was an uninhabited sea. Otherwise, the dragon roars would have scared the others. The golden dragon soared into the sky, but its roars came to an abrupt stop as if it was being strangled. Bang! Falling from the sky, the golden dragon fell directly into the sea, splashing up huge waves several feet high. The others had originally relaxed their minds, but when they saw this scene, their hearts tightened in fright, and they simultaneously straightened their bodies, turning pale with shock as they watched this scene. "What's going on?" Tang Zheng shouted. The golden dragon quickly sank into the sea, letting out a low whimper. Tang Zheng secretly cursed. For the golden dragon to have such a big situation, it must be an unusual situation. Plop! Without saying a word, he plunged into the sea like a missile. He saw the golden dragon's body stiffen and its golden light become very weak. Its situation was obviously not good. He quickly swam to the golden dragon's side and hugged its huge head. He roared with all his strength and soared into the sky, flying out of the water with the golden dragon. When the others saw this scene, they were shocked. They quickly rushed over and asked, "What's going on? How did the golden dragon become like this?" Tang Zheng was also at his wit's end. He shook his head and said, "I don't know. Let me wake it up first." He focused on circulating the dragon god technique. His body immediately glowed with a golden light, and pieces of golden dragon scales appeared. In an instant, he seemed to have turned into a dragon, especially the majestic dragon Qi and dragon might. It made people tremble. They had the urge to crawl on the ground and kowtow. They couldn't help but sigh at Tang Zheng's strength. This was something that the Empyrean fairy couldn't do. Tang Zheng was completely immersed in the golden dragon's body. He found that a mysterious power was rushing around, colliding with its meridians and internal organs. This power was very powerful. It was like breaking through dry weeds. The golden dragon's own energy was unable to resist. Although the golden dragon's body was imprisoned, its divine sense did not disappear. It seemed to have sensed Tang Zheng's existence and hurriedly shouted, "Hurry up and save me. This is because I swallowed Xuanin's body just now." Tang Zheng was extremely surprised. He thought that the golden dragon had some kind of chronic illness, but he didn't expect that it was caused by Xuanin's body. Why was Xuanin's body so powerful? "Moonlight essence. It's moonlight essence," the golden dragon shouted. It already knew the crux of the problem. Tang Zheng was shocked. What did this have to do with moonlight essence? However, when he carefully sensed the mysterious power, it was indeed similar to the power of stars that he had absorbed in the past. The power of stars was a very mysterious power. It was denser and more powerful than the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that he usually absorbed during cultivation. Moonlight essence was a type of power of stars. Its power was naturally not to be underestimated. Therefore, when Xianin was swallowed by the golden dragon, the moonlight essence was completely released. This power repelled the golden dragon's power, which led to the previous scene. Tang Zheng had absorbed the power of stars before, so he didn't feel anything different. It didn't even cause any harm to his body. Instead, it was very beneficial. He was very surprised to see that the moonlight essence had such a great effect on the golden dragon. He also gradually realized that the power of stars was far more powerful than he had imagined. Moreover, the Demon Lord's attempt to obtain the Red Lunar Beast core and absorb the moonlight essence for his own use was probably wishful thinking. The reality was far more complicated than the Demon Lord thought. In fact, Tang Zheng was overthinking it. Once someone consumed the Red Lunar Beast core, they would have the ability to absorb the moonlight essence. It was natural for the Red Lunar Beast to absorb the moonlight essence to increase its cultivation. There wouldn't be any side effects. Most importantly, the golden dragon didn't consume the Red Lunar Beast core. Instead, it swallowed Xianin directly. Therefore, the moonlight essence in her body wouldn't disappear with her death. Energy was conserved. When a person died, the energy in their body would merge with heaven and earth. This was a long process, so there wouldn't be any abnormalities. Of course, if the golden dragon swallowed an ordinary person or a normal cultivator, it could also completely digest the energy in their body. In the end, this kind of energy was transformed from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It was similar to the energy that the golden dragon absorbed from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. There wouldn't be any backlash. However, the moonlight essence was different. It was a higher level of energy. It didn't merge with the energy in the golden dragon's body. Instead, it was like a mortal enemy that wanted to kill the other. This caused the two forces to fight against each other. Xuani's cultivation wasn't any weaker than the golden dragon's. Therefore, the moonlight essence in her body wasn't any weaker than the golden dragon's. Although Tang Zheng didn't completely understand the mystery, he knew that he had to extract the moonlight essence from the golden dragon's body in order to get out of danger. The golden dragon panicked. It was no longer as calm as before. It said regretfully, Xuani's body is so different from others. If I knew this, I wouldn't have swallowed her. Tang Zheng had a solution, so he wasn't worried. After all, he was someone who had absorbed the power of the stars with the help of the celestial chess. Therefore, he knew that he could smoothly absorb the moonlight essence. He comforted the golden dragon. Don't worry. With me here, you'll be fine. I'll absorb the moonlight essence in your body first. Hearing Tang Zheng's words, the golden dragon was skeptical. However, it still chose to believe him in the end. It hurriedly urged, then hurry up and absorb this energy. Seeing the golden dragon in pain and worry, Tang Zheng also knew that he couldn't delay any longer. He withdrew his divine sense from the golden dragon's body. Seeing the other three anxiously watching, he explained, "It'll be fine. I have a way to cure it." The others let out a sigh of relief. Tang Zheng didn't say anything else. His mind was immersed in the golden dragon's body again. He circulated the dragon god's secret art and sent his true qi into the golden dragon's body. Both sides cultivated the dragon god's secret art, so when Tang Zheng's true qi entered the golden dragon's body, it didn't resist too much. His true qi successfully captured the moonlight essence. The moonlight essence had already turned into countless strands. It wasn't as simple as he thought. Chapter 1253. The moonlight essence was inextricably linked, and Tang Zheng was even more meticulous. Even though he had met his match, Tang Zheng was not afraid at all. He had to succeed. When a strand of moonlight essence finally entered Tang Zheng's body under the guidance of his vital energy, he did not feel any discomfort. On the contrary, his spirit was shaken, as if he had absorbed the energy himself. His eyes shone, and he was full of spirit. The moonlight essence is actually useful to me. He was overjoyed. Actually, this was a matter of course. After all, the star power he absorbed using heavenly chess was of a higher level than the moonlight essence. So, absorbing the moonlight essence was naturally not a problem. After tasting the sweetness, he immediately circulated his power and absorbed the moonlight essence crazily. However, this was a delicate task. After he had absorbed the largest strands of moonlight essence, his speed slowed down significantly. His expression darkened as he understood that he had reached a bottleneck. The golden dragon's condition improved slightly, and its consciousness became clearer. Seeing this effect, it hurriedly urged, "Hurry up, I feel much better." Tang Zheng wanted to roll his eyes at it. Did it think that this was as simple as buying cabbage in the market? Seeing that Tang Zheng did not speak, the golden dragon understood that the situation had changed. It was not as simple and smooth as it thought, so it asked nervously, "Is there a problem?" Tang Zheng said bluntly, "The moonlight essence is inextricably linked, and there are too many of them. Moreover, many of them are very small, so I have to absorb them all. I can't leave any side effects because I didn't absorb them all. Do you understand?" The golden dragon seemed to understand, but not quite. Seeing this, Tang Zheng added, "There are too many and too small moonlight essence, so absorbing them will take too much time. Do you understand?" The golden dragon suddenly understood. It was a powerhouse, so it immediately understood the difficulties. "I understand. What should I do?" Tang Zheng muttered to himself. After a while, an idea flashed through his mind, and he said, "I have an idea." The golden dragon was overjoyed and asked impatiently. Tang Zheng did not keep in suspense and said, "Sky swallowing technique. The The sky swallowing technique can absorb many things, so this moonlight essence is naturally not a problem. It's just that the swallowing sky technique doesn't absorb different things. Once I cast the technique, your own power will be taken away as well. I have to think of a way to distinguish it. Of course, the golden dragon understood how unfavorable all of this was to him. But what could he do? For the sake of his own life, he had no choice but to compromise. It's okay. Come on, I can handle it. Isn't it just a little bit of skill? The golden dragon was awe-inspiring, like a martyr who was ready to die heroically. Seeing that it had agreed, Tang Zheng did not dawdle. After all, survival was the most important thing. Then you better be prepared. I'm going to use the sky swallowing technique. Tang Zheng said as he placed his palm on the golden dragon's body. A small black hole appeared in his palm, and the golden light on the golden dragon's scales was immediately absorbed by the black hole. In the blink of an eye, the golden dragon's luster dimmed a little as a lot of it was absorbed by the black hole. Tang Zheng had been deliberately controlling the sky swallowing technique. The sky swallowing technique could absorb many things, including the power of others. In the past, he had absorbed other people's power. This time he was doing it again, but the target was the golden dragon. The golden dragon's body shook as it immediately felt something strange. Its power was like flowing water, quickly flowing out of its meridians and converging in Tang Zheng's body. At the same time, the essence of the moonlight also flowed into Tang Zheng's body. Why are you completely fine? The golden dragon finally came back to his senses and was in the mood to ponder over the mystery. Tang Zheng said lightly, I can absorb the power of the stars, so the essence of the moonlight is naturally not a problem. The golden dragon knew a thing or two about the power of the stars. It was shocked, but did not continue to ask. You should worry about yourself first. If you can't handle it, then tell me. Tang Zheng said. The golden dragon was silent for a moment, then gritted its teeth and said, You continue, I can handle it. That's good. Tang Zheng knew that whether it was Xian Yin's moonlight essence or the golden dragon's power, it would be very beneficial to him. This time, he had accidentally saved the golden dragon and also benefited himself. Of course, he did not dare to be careless. The two powers were like flowing water, pouring out of the golden dragon's body and rushing into Tang Zheng's body. Tang Zheng did not refuse and quickly absorbed the energy, his body gradually releasing a golden light. Because of the sky swallowing technique, the two powers were absorbed and there was no place to hide. A low groan sounded in Tang Zheng's mind. This was the sound of the golden dragon's power being drained. But since the golden dragon did not tell him to stop, Tang Zheng naturally would not stop. Tang Zheng was like a piece of the sea, constantly absorbing power, the power in his body rapidly increasing. He cultivated the dragon god's secret art, so the golden dragon's power was very beneficial to him. The dragon mark on his forehead bloomed with a golden light, and the golden dragon seemed to be shining brightly, shaking its head and wagging its tail, showing the dragon's power. Tang Zheng naturally saw this scene and understood that this indicated that the little golden dragon would also change. His heart was as calm as water, without any ripples. No matter what happened to the golden dragon, he would be calm. How it developed would depend on the will of the heavens. The golden dragon's power was completely gathered in the dragon mark, and the light in the dragon mark was strong to the extreme. The dragon's eyes opened wide, and two golden lights burst out. A low dragon roar burst out of the little golden dragon's mouth. The golden light gathered under the little golden dragon's abdomen. Suddenly, the golden light was as bright as the sun, piercing people's eyes. The golden light was a kind of golden light, and a small dragon claw gradually condensed and grew from the little golden dragon's abdomen. The six-clawed golden dragon did not see this scene. Otherwise, it would be very surprised, and, of course, it would be more distressed. This was its power, but it was benefiting Tang Zheng in vain. Of course, at this time, it did not have the energy to feel distressed. It was mentally weak and couldn't wait for Tang Zheng to completely absorb the moonlight essence. The moonlight essence flowed through Tang Zhang's 8 extraordinary meridians. Not long after, the moonlight essence gathered in Tang Zhang's Zifu, floating above Yuanying's head like an auspicious cloud. This was what surprised Tang Zhang. The golden dragon's power facilitated the formation of the dragon claw. This was a matter of course, but the moonlight essence floating above Yuanying's head seemed to be about to undergo an unexpected change. What kind of change will it be? Tang Zhang moved. Ever since he could not use the heavenly chess, he had not absorbed the power of the stars. But this time, the injection of the moonlight essence allowed him to taste the power of the stars again. He was overwhelmed with emotions, and while constantly urging the sky-devouring technique to absorb the two powers, he looked forward to the changes that were about to happen. Boom! Chapter 1254. Purple lightning flashed and contrasted with Yuanying, giving off a sense of mystery. Boom! The purple lightning let out another loud sound and struck Yuanying's head. Yuanying revealed a pained expression, as if he was resisting the power of the purple lightning. Ping ping. Yuanying's body was surrounded by lightning, flashing and ringing nonstop. If anyone saw this scene, they would be horrified. This was a scene that normal practitioners would not be able to experience. This was Yuanying undergoing the tempering of the purple lightning. The power of lightning was already extraordinary, and purple lightning was one of the best among all lightning. It contained a great amount of power. To temper Yuanying with purple lightning, this could only be done with great luck. Of course, it also required great courage and boldness. In fact, since ancient times, many people had discovered the power of lightning and tried to use it to temper their bodies and Yuanying. However, the power of lightning was too strong, and many people failed in their experiments and turned into charcoal. The famous thunderstorm in history was not just a natural phenomenon. There were many signs of it being thought of. Practitioners took the world into their bodies and formed their own little world. When they cultivated to the extreme, or if they had the ultimate skill to block the door, they could trigger the weather and attract lightning to the mortal world, striking their bodies and shattering their faces. This was a very risky move. Normal people would not dare to try it. Furthermore, many people did not even know about it. Tang Zhang had accidentally absorbed too much of the moonlight essence. The moonlight essence was an extremely powerful energy between heaven and earth. Moonlight essence and lightning energy had the same effect. When the moonlight essence accumulated to a certain amount, it would undergo a qualitative change and become purple lightning. He was completely unaware of how unique his experience was. He subconsciously immersed himself in this state. Purple lightning tempered the body. Small lightning bolts like small snakes swam around the surface of Yuanying's body. Gradually, these purple lightning bolts seemed to be unsatisfied with their current results and tried to expand their territory. They broke free from Yuanying and spread towards the inner walls of his Zifu. Ping! The purple lightning struck the inner walls of his Zifu. It was as if his Zifu was about to be penetrated. A soul-deep pain was transmitted to Tang Zhang's nerves. He suddenly raised his head and let out a heart-wrenching scream. The others were frightened by this scene. Fang Shishir was anxious and wanted to rush over to help him, but she was stopped by Empyrean Fairy. Wait a minute, Fang Shishir said anxiously. What's wrong with him? Wasn't he saving the golden dragon? Why is it so painful? Is it dangerous? The Empyrean Fairy couldn't say for sure either. She furrowed her brows and stared at Tang Zhang. She seemed to have sensed something and said, "There seems to be a very powerful energy in his body." What kind of energy? Fang Shishir asked. Yanqing also looked at Tang Zhang curiously. Although she had obtained a mysterious inheritance, she did not have a deep foundation. There were many aspects that were unique, but there were still many aspects that were lacking. The Empyrean Fairy had been using her skills to sense this energy. Suddenly, her heart lit up and she exclaimed, "The power of lightning." She could already control the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning attacks of the stately painting, so she was naturally familiar with the power of lightning. Therefore, after some investigation, she finally discovered the truth. There was a majestic power of lightning in Tang Zheng's body. This power of lightning was far stronger than ordinary lightning. This was too inconceivable. Although she could control the lightning in the stately painting, it was used for attack and outside of her body. She did not dare to let the lightning enter her body. Her body was not strong enough to withstand the power of lightning. However, at this moment, the lightning had appeared in Tang Zheng's body. She definitely could not be wrong. No wonder Tang Zheng was in so much pain. It was the lightning that was causing trouble. In addition, this lightning was stronger than ordinary lightning, so the pain he was enduring was naturally more intense. He's using lightning to temper his body, the Empyrean fairy pointed out. After all, she was an experienced and knowledgeable person. Although she could not use lightning to temper her body, her father, the Emperor of Heaven, had gone through this stage in the past. This was a torturous process. Once successful, the harvest would be incomparably huge. The physical body would be stronger, and ordinary attacks would not be able to harm it. In addition, if there was enough opportunity, the physical body could also be used by the lightning. When fighting against the enemy, the lightning could be used to defend the enemy. This was more powerful than the lightning that the Empyrean fairy used to trigger with the stately painting. The other two did not know about the lightning tempering, so they were a little confused and frightened. To them, lightning was a very powerful thing that should never be touched. Now that Tang Zheng had lightning in his body, wouldn't he be in danger? Fang Shishir couldn't help but grab the Empyrean fairy's clothes. He's too dangerous. You have to save him. The Empyrean fairy sighed and shook her head helplessly. There's nothing I can do. I've never experienced lightning tempering before, so I don't dare to trigger it. That's why I can't help him. However, many people in history have done so. Some succeeded, while others failed. What happens if you fail? Fang Shishir asked nervously. She had an ominous premonition in her heart. The Empyrean fairy's expression was indifferent as she softly spat out a word. Death. Fang Shishir's entire body trembled, and her face became incomparably pale. She nervously asked, "Then what about Tang Zheng? Let's wait and see." The other two had no choice but to look at Tang Zheng quietly and hope that he could defeat the lightning. However, the Empyrean fairy muttered in her heart. When other people used lightning to temper their bodies, they used lightning from the outside world. However, there was no lightning just now. So where did he get the lightning from? Could it be that this lightning was born in his body? She was shocked by this thought. Not to mention the Emperor of Heaven. Even other people had never heard of such an experience. He's truly unique. She sighed in her heart, feeling that she could not understand him at all. The purple lightning had already spread along the inner wall of the Zifu towards the 8 extra meridians. Not long after, his meridians were filled with purple electric nets, tempering his meridians, muscles, and bones. He screamed miserably, as if the most painful punishment in the world was being inflicted on his body. His facial muscles quickly twisted, making him look extremely frightening. He gradually understood that this was not necessarily a bad thing. In the past, he had always been tempering his body, but he had only used the innate qi to stimulate and temper it. The effect was not bad, but it was far from being as powerful as the purple lightning. In addition, he had also specially cultivated the chaotic Vajra spell, which was a cultivation technique that specialized in cultivating the body. Ever since he had reached the Vajra body, the progress of the chaotic Vajra spell had been extremely slow. The Vajra body was indeed very useful. It was already extremely difficult for ordinary magic treasure to harm him, unless it was an extremely powerful enemy. The chaotic Vajra spell had a total of 5 stages. The Vajra body was the 4th stage, and there was still the most powerful indestructible behind it. Once he reached the indestructible realm, his body would be extremely difficult to destroy. Only a heaven-defying existence would be able to destroy his body. Of course, even if he reached the indestructible body, it was not an immortal body. It was only an immortal body. Once his soul was destroyed, he could also die. For an ordinary person to destroy his soul, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens. This was equivalent to adding a protective layer to himself, and it would be of great benefit when fighting against enemies. The chaotic Vajra spell that had not made any progress until now seemed to be about to make some progress. Tang Zheng's feeling was extremely strong, so no matter how painful it was, he still clenched his teeth and endured it. Thump! The purple lightning swam through his entire body. Not long after, it seeped out of his skin and swam around his body. This scene was clearly seen by everyone else. When they saw the purple lightning, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Is this lightning? Why is it purple? Feng Shishir pointed at Tang Zheng and asked with a trembling voice. Empyrean Fairy also frowned, her heart trembling. She could sense that it was lightning, but she did not expect it to be purple lightning. Purple lightning? How could there be such lightning? Whether it was the lightning that the Emperor of Heaven had used to temper his body or the lightning that she had drawn out from the mountain river map, they were all white. It was dazzling white. There was a world of difference between the two types of lightning. Who was strong and who was weak could be determined with a single glance. The purple lightning was clearly stronger than the white lightning. Why is there such a strange lightning in his body? What caused all of this? She muttered to herself. The other two also heard her words and started to mutter in their hearts. She couldn't figure out the mystery behind it. She could only open her eyes wide, as if she didn't want to miss any details. Thump! The purple lightning continued to wander around Tang Zheng's body. His skin was crushed, and cracks appeared on his diamond body. Cracks that looked like broken porcelain appeared on his skin. This pain was very unbearable. Tang Zheng let out a heart-wrenching scream. When the others saw this scene, they were shocked. Feng Shishir's hands were tightly clasped together. Her palms were covered in cold sweat. Tang Zheng, you can do it. You have to make it. I'll wait for you. She prayed silently. God, you have to make him make it. His skin was completely broken and fragmented. The purple lightning was like small snakes, sometimes drilling into the cracks of his skin, and sometimes coming out. It came and went as it pleased, as if it was entering an uninhabited land. Tang Zheng's scream turned from high-pitched to low. He seemed to be exhausted, and his breath became weak. He fell to the sea, his palm leaving the golden dragon. The golden dragon woke up. It suddenly raised its head and flew into the sky. It let out a deafening dragon roar and looked at Tang Zheng with shining eyes. The moonlight essence in its body had been completely absorbed, and a lot of its power had been absorbed into Tang Zheng's body. It was very distressed, but when it saw Tang Zheng's situation, its heart suddenly tightened. It had just tried to communicate with Tang Zheng with its divine sense, but found that it had failed. Tang Zheng's mind was completely immersed in other aspects, isolated from the outside world. Seeing that the golden dragon had recovered, the others didn't show any signs of relief. Compared to the golden dragon, they were more worried about Tang Zheng. The purple lightning shuttled back and forth. Unknowingly, the cracks stopped expanding and gradually shrank inward. The torn muscles closed again, and the skin gathered together. The cracks were repaired. The purple lightning drilled back into the skin, and a mysterious purple luster appeared on the skin. It quickly disappeared. Tang Zheng still didn't open his eyes. He lay on the sea and didn't remain silent, but a voice in his heart was cheering, "Indestructible body." Chapter 1255. Indestructible Body. This was the 5th stage of the chaotic Vajra spell. If not for luck, it would have been impossible for him to reach this realm. The chaotic Vajra spell was a cultivation technique of the witch clan. The witch clan was strong and strong, so they cultivated this kind of ability. However, very few people had reached the indestructible body realm. The witch clan elders were the best of the best, but they had only cultivated to the diamond body. The witch clan members all pursued an indestructible body, but this time, Tang Zheng had managed to cultivate it. If the witch clan knew about this, they would definitely cheer and celebrate with the entire clan. Tang Zheng stopped screaming, and the heart-wrenching feeling gradually disappeared. However, his emotions had not calmed down yet. This was because the power of the golden dragon had caused other changes. Inside the dragon seal, the 8th dragon claw had already grown out. Tiny dragon scales covered the newly born dragon claw, shining with a brilliant golden light. 8th stage of the Dragon God Arts. Tang Zheng felt as if he was in a dream. He naturally understood what kind of situation this was, and his heart was in turmoil. The 8th stage of the Dragon God Arts meant that he could go to Langya to explore the 8th floor. What exactly was hidden inside was still something that Tang Zheng was extremely curious about. Actually, he had only just stepped onto the 6th floor of Langya. Back then, due to the time constraints, he did not even have the time to step onto the 7th floor. Now that he could step onto the 8th floor, the 2 floors of Langya were waiting to be excavated. This was indeed an exciting matter. He suppressed the anticipation in his heart and channeled the Dragon God Arts. The little golden dragon inside the dragon seal shook its head and wagged its tail, roaring towards the sky as a brilliant golden light burst out from the little golden dragon's body. In that instant, the golden light pierced through the dragon's seal, through the layers of obstructions, and came out from his skin. He was like a dazzling sun, changing the halo from before and dyeing the surrounding sea golden. His eyes suddenly opened, and a golden light shot out, forcing people to look away, not daring to look straight at him. When the others saw him open his eyes, they were both nervous and wanted to cheer. They didn't know if he was good or bad. However, the golden dragon was different. It could see the change in him with a single glance. The Dragon God Arts had actually broken through once again. This is because it absorbed my power. Of course, it understood the reason behind all of this and couldn't help but feel a little angry. It hadn't been long since it grew its 7th claw, and its power had yet to be fully consolidated. Now that it had lost so much of its power, it could be said that its vitality had been greatly damaged. Xianyin, you really are a troublemaker. Even after you're dead, you still won't stop. You've harmed me again. If I had known that there would be this side effect, I would have made you die even more miserably, the golden dragon cursed. Tang Zheng also did not expect that the golden dragon would swallow Xianyin. He had learned from his mistakes and knew that Xianyin had a way to resist his soul-searching technique. The soul-searching technique was ineffective, and there was no way to seize information about the sky beyond heaven from her brain. Therefore, he did not waste his energy and let the golden dragon deal with it on its own. The golden dragon cursed in its heart as it observed Tang Zheng. It seemed to want to see what was different about him. Suddenly, roar. Tang Zheng looked up to the sky and let out a long roar that sounded like a dragon's roar coming out of his throat, scaring the others. The whistling stopped, and Tang Zheng calmed down. The golden light on his body and eyes faded away, leaving only a pair of embarrassed and spirited eyes. As long as it was someone who understood Tang Zheng, they would definitely be able to discover that his temperament had undergone an earth-shattering change. When Feng Shishir saw this, she hurriedly rushed over and asked with concern, "How is it?" Tang Zheng faintly smiled and held her hand, saying, "Everything's been taken care of. You were so scary just then. I thought you would leave me." Feng Shishir said with lingering fear. After Tang Zheng comforted her, he turned to look at the golden dragon. The golden dragon also stared at him with wide eyes. "You've broken through to the 4th stage of the Dragon God technique." The golden dragon finally spoke. Tang Zheng nodded. "Yes, it's all thanks to you." The golden dragon was extremely conflicted. In the end, it let out a long sigh, saying, "Thank you for saving me." Tang Zheng did not take the credit and said with a bit of shame, "This is also my fault. If I had known that the moonlight essence would cause this kind of side effect, I wouldn't have let you swallow it. I don't regret it. She caused me to be imprisoned for several hundred years. Only by drinking her blood and eating her flesh could I vent the hatred in my heart." The golden dragon said through gritted teeth. Tang Zheng expressed his understanding. If it were him, he would have done the same. "You absorbed the moonlight essence. Is there anything wrong with your body?" The golden dragon asked curiously. Tang Zheng could absorb the moonlight essence and be fine, but it had almost died. The difference between them was obvious. The feeling of being compared to Tang Zheng was very complicated. Tang Zheng looked deeply at the golden dragon and instantly understood what it was thinking and said, "This is related to the fact that I used the heavenly chest to absorb the power of the stars. The essence of the moonlight is a type of power of the stars, so I will naturally not suffer a backlash. The golden dragon nodded in understanding. Although it had already guessed the reason, hearing it from Tang Zheng's mouth still made it difficult to hide its complicated feelings. Back then, didn't the demon commander always want to consume the red crescent beast core and obtain the ability to absorb the moonlight essence? Since you've absorbed Xuanin's moonlight essence, will you inherit her ability? The golden dragon suddenly had an idea and asked on a whim. A light flashed in Tang Zheng's mind. He had never thought about this question before. This sentence suddenly woke Tang Zheng up. He said with some expectation, "You're saying that I might also obtain Xuanin's ability?" If this was true, then it would definitely be an unexpected gain. The golden dragon was also not sure, saying, "It's possible. Why don't you give it a try?" Tang Zheng looked up at the sun hanging high in the sky and said, "It's broad daylight right now. The moonlight essence is not rich, so the test might not be accurate. You won't lose anything by giving it a try." The golden dragon also wanted to know the answer. The Empyrean fairy understood the conversation between the two. She was no stranger to the bizarre red crescent beast. If Tang Zheng really obtained Xuanin's ability, that would really be a pleasant surprise. Fang Shishir also looked at Tang Zheng encouragingly. The person she loved had a series of fortuitous encounters and great gains, so she was happy from the bottom of her heart. Naturally, she also wanted to get to the bottom of this matter and be reassured. Yan Qingyi did not know the mystery behind it. She did not even know about the Xianin beast, but she was also very interested and looked at him with shining eyes. Seeing that the few of them were impatient to know the answer, Tang Zheng did not continue to refuse. He nodded and said, "All right, as you wish." He closed his eyes and quietly felt the power between heaven and earth. The heaven and earth spiritual qi was more abundant than on land. When it sensed his call, it quickly rushed into his body like a whirlwind. This was not what he wanted. He quickly stabilized his mind and urged his cultivation, trying to sense the moonlight essence. Chapter 1256. A strong sense of summoning was born. He seemed to have sensed the moon in the sky. Although it was broad daylight, the moon was still there. It was just that it was covered by the light of the sun. In the past, although he knew of its existence, he could not communicate with the moon and absorb the essence of the moonlight, even if he looked at it with his own eyes. He could only do this with the help of the celestial chess. But this time it was different. He had a vague sense of the moon. He was very familiar with this feeling. In the past, when he communicated with the stars and guided the power of the stars to descend to the mortal world, he felt this way. He seemed to have understood something, and an indescribable joy flashed through his heart. Could it be that the golden dragon was right? Sure enough, there was a subtle connection between him and the moon. When he activated his power, a vast and mighty moonlight essence descended from the sky, passing through space and arriving at this part of the sea. In an instant, it was as if he was suddenly enlightened. He was enveloped by the essence of the moonlight. The vast and mighty essence of the moonlight rushed from the top of his head into his meridians, flowing towards his 5 viscera and 6 bowels. Finally, it gathered at the top of his Yuanying's head, causing tiny flashes of light to appear on the outside of his Yuanying's body. I really absorbed the moonlight essence. Tang Zheng was as clear as a mirror. His joy was indescribable. The moonlight essence hovered for a long time. Suddenly, it swooped down and drilled into Yuanying's body. In an instant, Yuanying glowed, looking even more mighty and extraordinary. Tang Zheng blinked, and an idea flashed through his mind. Since he had obtained Xuanin's ability, which was the unique ability of the Red Lunar Beast, could he make specific changes to it? Since the moonlight essence was a kind of power of the stars, could he use this method to directly absorb the power of the stars? The essence of moonlight was too simple. The power of the stars was like a treasure trove containing even more rare treasures. Once he could successfully absorb it, he would not be restricted by the celestial chess at all. He would be able to absorb the power of the stars anytime and anywhere for his own use, increasing his strength and cultivation. Before he had time to quietly feel the power of the stars, a strange scene appeared in the sky, attracting the attention of the other three people. The three pairs of eyes stared at the sky and exclaimed, "What is that? We have seen this scene in the capital before. It's the blood moon." The blood moon had appeared in the capital before. The Empyrean fairy knew it was because the red lunar beast had absorbed the moonlight essence. She did not expect to see it again in the sea. Everyone looked at this scene with mixed feelings, unable to speak for a long time. It was broad daylight, and there was a sun in the sky. There was also a faintly discernible moonlight. This scene would definitely cause a big commotion. It would become the topic of discussion and research for countless people. Tang Zheng did not take it to heart. He continued to channel his power, absorbing the power of the stars in the sky. The stars were very far away from each other. As Tang Zheng channeled his power, these stars emitted a dazzling light. They passed through the distant space and were faintly discernible in the sky. However, the sky was too far away. The light of these stars was not as strong as the moonlight. Ordinary people could not see them at all. She could see through people who weren't ordinary clearly. The Empyrean fairy and the others were the first to see this scene. Their power was not what it used to be. They were not ordinary people. "What's going on?" they muttered in their hearts. In the past, when Tang Zheng used the celestial chess to channel the power of the stars, it was always at night. No matter how bright the stars in the sky were, or how extraordinary they were not easy to discover. Or perhaps it was too easy to overlook them. Now that they had appeared in broad daylight, it was extraordinary. Naturally, it would attract the attention of those who were interested. It was not just the Empyrean fairy and the others. On the ground, many people also discovered this scene, causing a large reaction. They all treated this scene and the appearance of the moon as a continuous event. As for what mysteries were involved, ordinary people could not guess at all. Everyone racked their brains, wanting to find out the ins and outs of this matter. As for the person involved, he was still immersed in a wonderful state. When he stopped absorbing the power of the stars, the strange scene in the sky gradually disappeared. He raised his head and looked. He shook his head slightly and said with a sigh, "Although this technique is good, it may not be a good thing to cause too much of a reaction." When the others heard this, they speechlessly rolled their eyes. This was showing off after receiving benefits, being picky and picky. Seeing their reactions, Tang Zheng could not help but laugh. He also knew that he had been too greedy. So many people had tried to obtain this ability. He had only been able to intermittently absorb the power of the stars with the help of the celestial chess. Now, he was not restricted by the power of the stars at all. He could freely absorb the power of the stars at any time. In the future, once he absorbed more and more power of the stars, his cultivation would definitely rise to another level. This would open up a fast track for his cultivation. It was something worth celebrating. The Empyrean fairy gradually calmed down and asked, "What happened to your body just now?" With three pairs of eyes watching this scene, Tang Zheng had no way of hiding it. Moreover, they were not outsiders, so he might as well tell them the truth. When they heard about everything that had happened in his body, as well as the many changes that had occurred, everyone was dumbfounded. This series of fortuitous encounters was too much for them to handle. The Empyrean fairy looked at him with a complicated expression. As a person who pursued strength, she wished that she could have the same kind of luck as Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not understand the significance of lightning tempering the body, so he calmly said, "No need to make a fuss. This is not a big deal." If this was not a big deal, then what was? The few of them wished they could just blurt out and question him. Seeing the strange looks in everyone's eyes, Tang Zheng's heart moved. He asked, "Could it be that there is some kind of mystery behind this? Lightning tempering the body has existed since ancient times. But for you to produce lightning in your body for no reason and use it to temper your body, this is something that I have never seen before." The Empyrean fairy said in a low voice. After a slight pause, she added, "No, this should be something that has never been heard of before." Tang Zheng was slightly startled. Although he had never seen lightning tempering the body before, he did not think that it was too rare. After hearing the Empyrean fairy, she realized that this matter was far more complicated than she had imagined. But one thing was for sure, for him, there were no disadvantages, only advantages. Chapter 12:57. The thought flashed through Xuaning's mind, but she didn't put into practice. Tang Zheng realized the extraordinary power of the purple lightning body, tempering and rejoiced. All of this was caused by the essence of the moonlight. He had absorbed the power of the stars before, but it was too little after all. It couldn't be compared to the moonlight essence that Xianin had spent hundreds of years absorbing. I'll definitely absorb more power of the stars in the future. I don't know how many chain reactions there will be. I'm really looking forward to it. After the interlude with Xianin, everyone was unable to calm down. After saying a few more words, the golden dragon returned to Tang Zheng's arm. Everything was calm and peaceful. The few of them accompanied each other as they left the sea and set foot on their journey home. Not long after they left, a person suddenly appeared in this calm sea area. If Tang Zheng saw this, he would definitely cry out in alarm. This was the dragon slayer he saw in the illusion of Langya Pavilion. He had come to this world through the spatial door earlier. He sensed the existence of a dragon, which was the golden dragon. In addition, he also sensed a looming and ethereal dragon. This was something that had never happened before. It shocked him. He decided to follow the clues and find these two dragons. He first followed the clues of the golden dragon and followed it here, especially when the golden dragon appeared just now and roared. The others didn't notice it, but he did. However, he was still a step too late. Looking at the calm sea, he knew that he had missed the golden dragon. This also confirmed one thing, and that was that he was not chasing after the wrong dragon. There was indeed a golden dragon. There were only two dragons in this world, so there must be a connection. If he found this golden dragon, he could naturally find the other one. This was killing two birds with one stone. Of course, he wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He looked in the direction where Tang Zheng and the others disappeared, and the corner of his mouth hooked up into a complacent smile. He muttered to himself, "Little golden dragon, I will find you very soon. After absorbing your dragon soul, I will become even stronger." Whoosh! His figure flashed and disappeared. In the next second, he seemed to have appeared in the sky. His speed was so fast that it made people speechless. Tang Zheng and the others finally returned to Beijing. The others came out of Sumru World and parted ways. Yan Xingyi left with Yan Luoyun and the crew. When Yan Xingyi returned to the Yan family, Yan Patian had already heard a few words from Yan Luoyun, especially regarding Yan Xingyi's various miraculous encounters, causing Yan Patian to be unable to sit still. Therefore, he personally went to the door to welcome his daughter back. This was a supreme honor. The other people who didn't know the reason all looked at him. "Father, I'm back." Yan Xingyi looked at her father and said calmly. Yan Patian excitedly took a few steps forward, held her hand, and said, "Xingyi, you're finally back." His eyes stared at Yan Xingyi, as if he wanted to find out what was so special about her. In the end, he came to the conclusion that other than his daughter's calmer temperament, which was like an ancient well that made people unable to figure out her, there was no obvious change in other aspects. He did not doubt the news that Yan Luoyun had sent back. He knew that his daughter must be too profound, which was why he was unable to see through her. He was extremely excited. He had never interfered with Yan Xingyi's decision. If not for this love, as a disciple of an aristocratic family, how could Yan Xingyi be so leisurely and do whatever she wanted? Without a doubt, if he had stopped Yan Xingyi, there was a high chance that she would not have achieved what she had today. A sense of honor arose spontaneously and filled his heart. He accompanied his daughter to the inner room with a red face. The other unrelated people all retreated. Everyone outside the room had been evacuated, leaving only the 4 core members of the Yan family. Yan Qishan also looked at his sister with mixed feelings. Of course, he was not jealous. He was only happy for his sister from the bottom of his heart. All these years, Yan Xingyi's actions had attracted many people's slander and supercilious looks. Many people talked behind his back and discussed animatedly. As members of the Yan family, Their feelings were naturally the most profound. They wanted to clear Yin Qingyi's name, but the matter of prophecy was too mysterious. Most people would not believe it, and it was not suitable for them to spread out. Therefore, they could only hide it in their stomachs. Now, all of this had taken a huge turn for the better. Everyone couldn't wait to hear Yin Qingyi talk about the mysteries and mysteries behind it. Just what kind of fortuitous encounter did she have that could cause such a world-shaking change? After Yin Qingyi sat down and saw the urgency in their eyes, he understood what they were thinking. He smiled calmly and said, "If you have any questions, just ask. As long as it's something that can be said, I will definitely tell you." Her attitude towards her family and others was clearly different and different. This was human nature. Yin Shishan and Yin Luyan looked at Yin Patian at the same time. He was the patriarch, so this question could only come from his mouth. Yin Patian muttered to himself for a few seconds, then asked, "I heard that you inherited Fushi's Tao intent. Is this Tao intent really that powerful?" The few words that Yin Patian had sent back from Yin Luyan were not enough to understand the mystery behind it, so he broke the pot and asked until the end. Yin Qingyi looked deeply at her father, then looked at the impatient eyes of the other two, and muttered to herself, "Because you are family, there is a sentence that is not suitable to be publicized. I can only tell you that after hearing it, you can pretend that you have never heard it before and completely forget about it. Do you understand?" Seeing her speak so cautiously, the faces of the few people sank at the same time. They were incomparably serious, and the wrinkles at the corner of Yin Potion's eyes also deepened. "Qingyi, tell me. I guarantee that other than the few people present, no one else will know." Yin Patian patted his chest and swore to his daughter. Yin Qingyi chose to believe in her father, so she said tirelessly, "I have not only inherited Fushi's Tao intent, that is just an excuse to deceive others. Tang Zheng has indeed inherited the genuine Fushi's Tao intent, but what he has obtained is far less than what I have." Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Even the Fushi Tao intent that Tang Zheng had inherited was not powerful. Being judged by Yin Qingyi like this, it was definitely not wrong. Then how rich was her harvest that she dared to boast so shamelessly? The others all looked at Yin Qingyi in anticipation, looking forward to hearing a shocking answer from her mouth. Yin Qingyi had indeed lived up to their expectations. In a word, she had said some earth-shattering words. The Fushi Tao insight is only a type of Tao insight. What I inherited is the true Tao insight, and it wasn't mixed with all sorts of nonsense. It's the grand Tao of the heavens and the earth, and it's far more formidable than the Fushi Tao insight. Yin Qingyi's words were earth-shattering, shocking the others to the point that they were dumbstruck. So there was such an inside story. What she had inherited, or rather, what she had obtained, was far greater than all of this. Today, there's only one chapter. It will be recovered tomorrow. Chapter 1258. Yin Potion's chin was about to fall to the ground. The so-called Fushi Tao intent, the great Tao of heaven and earth, was something that he had never heard of before. "Are you saying that you got more things than Tang Zheng?" Yin Patian digested it for a while and asked hesitantly. In his heart, Tang Zheng was practically invincible, an existence that could not be defeated. Now, his daughter had obtained even more things than Tang Zheng. This was something that he did not dare to imagine. He looked at his daughter again, as if he had never known her before. Yin Qingyi understood her father's feelings and said, "Yes, Tang Zheng got less than me. Aren't you an ordinary person? Why did you get more than Tang Zheng?" Yin Shishan finally could not help but ask. As an elder brother, he understood his sister very well. His thoughts were similar to his father's, and he could not believe that all of this was true. Although Tang Zheng is a cultivator and is powerful, his identity is very awkward. He does not have the chance to inherit the great Tao of heaven and earth, this supreme Tao intent. Yin Qingyi said somewhat proudly. The others still found it hard to come back to their senses. There is no free lunch in this world. You have inherited the great Tao of heaven and earth. Do you have to do something? Yin Qingyi looked at his father with admiration. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. Needless to say, he had already guessed the crux of the matter. She did not hide anything and admitted generously, "Yes, preaching to the world is what I want to do." Preaching to the world? Like those preachers? Those are all bluffs. The Tao I want to impart is the true great Tao of heaven and earth, allowing everyone in the world to become believers. Yan Qingyi's face revealed a resolute expression. The others looked at her as if she was a madman. Why did so many changes happen after going to the gate of heaven? It was as if she had become a completely different person. Yan Qingyi looked at their expressions and said, "I know what you're thinking. There's no need for you to do anything about this matter. I've come back this time mainly to give you some instructions, and then I'll leave." The few of them were shocked and quickly asked, "Where are you going?" Preaching the Tao to the world naturally means traveling thousands of miles. In the past, my methods were too limited. To truly comprehend the great Tao, one should walk out. The ancients said that it is better to travel 10,000 li than to read 10,000 books. There's a certain reason for this. Yan Qingyi said without hesitation. The others thought she was even crazier. Yan Qingyi's identity was special, and she didn't have the strength to trust a chicken. In the past, when she went out, there would be people to protect her. This time, she was going to travel thousands of miles and preach to the world. Wouldn't that be dangerous? As his father, Yin Patian naturally wouldn't sit idly by, so he refused without hesitation. No. Yan Qingyi didn't care at all and said, "I've already decided. You don't have the power to protect yourself. How can you go out and adventure? Today is different from the past. In this society, cultivators and martial artists coexist, and it's even more dangerous." Yin Patian said worriedly. Yan Qingyi's gaze landed on Yin Luyun and said, "Luyun, you saw me fight with Empyrean Fairy. You should know if I have the power to protect myself." Yin Luyun had never had the chance to speak. Seeing that she had asked him, he couldn't help but recall the scene in the Gate of Heaven. His heart trembled as he stammered. "Grandfather, the battle between Ant and Empyrean Fairy left a deep impression on me. I will never forget it for the rest of my life. Ant can easily dodge Empyrean Fairy's attack, as if she can predict her movements in advance." This was the first time Yin Patian and Yin Shishan had heard of this situation. For a moment, their brains seemed to have stopped working. In their impression, Empyrean Fairy was even stronger than Tang Zhong, but Qingyi was actually able to contend against her. Was this still the Yin Qingyi that they were familiar with? How was this still a powerless chicken? He simply had supreme means and completely outshone them. "How did you do it?" Yin Patian took a deep breath and asked in disbelief. "This is the profoundness of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Although my fighting strength is equal to 0, I can predict her attack path. Since I can predict the enemy's advance, I will naturally be at a disadvantage." Yan Qingyi said calmly, as if he was talking about an insignificant matter. "Is this because you know the prophecy technique?" Yin Patian had an idea and asked. Yan Qingyi said, "Yes, this is the result of the evolution of the prophecy technique. I can predict the enemy's actions and then make the corresponding evasions. Naturally, no one will be able to hurt me." A huge wave rose in their hearts that could not be calmed down for a long time. The way they looked at her changed again and again. In the end, there were too many things mixed in their eyes that were hard to describe. If the prophecy technique has evolved, then can you predict the future? What will our Yin family become? As the head of the family, Yin Patian was more concerned about the development of the family. "Father, you don't have to worry about this. With me here, the Yin family will definitely not fall. As for predicting the future of the Yin family, I am unable to do so for the time being." "Didn't your prophecy technique evolve?" "Yes, but I can only predict the enemy's actions when facing the enemy and predict what will happen a long time in the future. Just like before, sometimes it doesn't work," Yan Qingyi said regretfully. "However, I believe that I can successfully predict the future. It's just that I need a deeper understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth to be able to do this." Hearing these words, the few of them fell silent again. Could it be that they really wanted to let her spread the Tao to the world alone? They simply could not predict what kind of impact this would have. Yan Qingyi had already made up his mind, and he emphasized once more. I'll be leaving first this time. If all of you encounter any difficulties or danger, you can go look for Tang Zheng. He has inherited the Fushi Dao insight, and he'll have an enormous leap in strength. Wait a minute, don't you still have the soul of the Emperor of Heaven in your body? What should we do? The Emperor of Heaven's soul will naturally have a place to return to. You don't have to worry. As for the Empyrean fairy, just tell her to wait for me to come back. After she finished speaking, she turned around and walked towards the door without waiting for them to react. The few of them looked at each other in dismay, and in the end, their gazes landed on Yin Patian. He let out a long sigh and said faintly, "Everyone has their own destiny. Since she has already decided, let her continue on her own." Yin Patian had set the tone. Even if the others had different opinions, they could only hide it in their stomachs. But I must give young Master Tang and the Empyrean fairy an explanation for this matter. I will personally pay them a visit one day and explain this matter to them. Yin Patian made his decision and said, "Of course, the matter of the great Tao of heaven and earth and the preaching of the Tao to the world could not be leaked." She had to find a very appropriate reason to dispel the suspicions of others. When Tang Zheng returned home, the others were extremely excited. What a joyous scene! They kept asking questions at the same time. Xiao Bai seemed to be angry, like a little wife. He laid on Tang Zheng's shoulder dejectedly. Tang Zheng knew what it was thinking. It was complaining that he did not bring it along with him this time. He spent a lot of effort to comfort it for a long time before the little fellow finally regained its vitality. When the Scarlet Moon Beast heard that Xian Yin was dead and that it had gotten its revenge, it was so happy that it could not control itself. With a bang, it directly knelt in front of Tang Zheng. Last time, when Tang Zheng refused to let the Scarlet Moon Beast kill Xian Yin, the Scarlet Moon Beast still had some complaints in its heart. Now that Xian Yin was dead, although she did not die in its hands, it still meant that his wife's death had finally been avenged. The Scarlet Moon Beast kept kowtowing to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng quickly helped it up. Looking at the Scarlet Moon Beast's tear-filled eyes, he could not help but sigh. He felt that Xian Yin deserved it even more. She had harmed so many people, she deserved to die. "You have avenged my wife. I will remember this favor," the Scarlet Moon Beast said sincerely. If it had submitted to Tang Zheng previously because of Xiao Bai, it was much more sincere now. "You are too kind. You have a close relationship with Xiao Bai. This is what I should do. Moreover, Xian Yin deserved it." Tang Zheng said, "I observed the strange phenomenon in the sky just now. You have inherited the ability of a Scarlet Moon Beast to absorb the essence of moonlight, right?" The Scarlet Moon Beast looked at Tang Zheng and asked. "Yes," Tang Zheng admitted generously. "This ability is something that many people dream of. This is also one of the reasons why our Red Lunar Beast clan is becoming rarer and rarer. Some of us even went extinct. You are lucky to have inherited this ability. I hope that you will use it well." The Red Lunar Beast clan said earnestly. Tang Zheng suddenly had an idea and asked, "Other than absorbing the essence of moonlight, can you Scarlet Moon Beasts also absorb the power of stars?" "The power of stars?" The Scarlet Moon Beast was stunned. It did not understand and looked at Tang Zheng blankly. In the end, it shook its head and said no. Tang Zheng understood. It seemed that he had absorbed the power of stars with the help of the celestial chess. That was why he had this ability. As night fell, everyone else fell into a deep sleep. Tang Zheng spent most of the day accompanying his family. In the dead of night, he rejected Lu Qingmei and the others' flirtatious glances and went to the training room alone. Since he had reached the 8th level of the Dragon God technique, there were 2 floors in the Langia Pavilion waiting for him to explore. The outside world was full of dangers and unpredictable dangers. All the more reason for him to take the time to explore the Langia Pavilion and see if he could find anything new. Today, he needed more power more urgently than before. He planned to discuss with the Devil Race about strengthening the space gate between the 2 worlds. He needed to be strong enough. Only then would he be qualified to sit at the negotiating table. Chi Yu and the Devil Race were powerful and could kill without batting an eyelid. If he was not strong enough, he was afraid that there would be no way for him to discuss this matter. He calmed down and circulated the dragon god technique. With a flash of golden light, he appeared in front of the Langya Pavilion. The towering Langya Pavilion was still standing quietly in front of him. He raised his head and took a deep look at it. His heart was filled with anticipation. He walked over the threshold and walked in. He climbed up to the 6th floor in one breath. When he reached the 6th floor, the illusion did not appear again. It was obvious that it was only effective for the first time. He walked to the 7th floor and carefully stepped on the wooden stairs. He walked up to the 7th floor step by step. The 7th floor of the Langya Pavilion. Here I come. A voice shouted in his heart. Author's digression. There will be a second chapter tonight. Chapter 1259. On the 7th floor of Langya, Tang Zheng stepped onto the last step and stood firmly on the 7th floor. Although he had already stepped on the first 6 floors, every time he stepped onto a new floor, he could not hide the excitement in his heart. What entered his eyes was a stretch of snow white. He was startled and did not understand what was going on. In the next second, a name flashed through his mind. White clouds. This large cloud that looked like cotton candy was actually the clouds in the sky, floating in front of him just like that. How could there be white clouds in Langya? He frowned and was confused. He stared at the white clouds in a daze, not knowing what to do. The surroundings were dead silent. There was no guidance at all. He hesitated slightly and walked towards the white clouds step by step. The white clouds did not move. He circled around the white cloud, not knowing where to start. This mass of white cloud left him with no idea what to do. He stretched out his finger and poked the white clouds. The white clouds were pressed into a pit. When he released his finger, the white clouds bounced back and returned to normal. This is interesting. His eyes lit up and he smacked his lips. The things in Langya were definitely not ordinary, especially on the 7th floor. It was definitely not ordinary. It was just that he had not figured it out yet. He was not a person who gave up easily. He knew that there were tigers in the mountain, but he still walked towards it. I don't believe that my hand can't rush in. He shouted and activated the dragon god technique. A dazzling golden light flickered on his finger. He stomped his heel and rushed fiercely towards the white clouds. His outstretched finger was like a sharp sword. Poof! This time, his finger easily pierced into the white clouds. Then, his entire body rushed into the white clouds. The surroundings were completely covered by the white clouds. He waved his arms with all his might, trying to chase away the white clouds so that he could see clearly what was in front of him. After waving his arms a few times, his eyes suddenly opened up. The blue sky was reflected in front of him. White clouds floated in the sky. It was a scene of white clouds high in the sky. He looked around and saw nothing but white clouds. What's going on? Why did I suddenly come to this world? He muttered to himself, at a loss. Miraculously, he did not circulate his energy, nor did he fall from the sky. He looked down and could not see the situation below at all. Something strange. His heart was filled with awe, and he became extremely alert. According to his past experience, although Langya contained treasures, it also contained dangers at the same time. If he was slightly careless, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Not to mention treasures. Even his life would be difficult to protect. He walked forward step by step as if he was walking on flat ground. White clouds were scattered all around him. They were like jasper pearls sprinkled in the sky, adorning the blue sky. When he passed by a white cloud, it actually flew away with a whoosh. Tang Zheng was shocked. He stared straight at the white cloud. He saw that the white cloud seemed to have a life of its own. It moved far away, as if it didn't like Tang Zheng coming close. What's going on? He was confused. With a thought, he walked toward another white cloud. Whoosh! The same thing happened. That white cloud also fled, as if it was afraid that it would be too late. He was stunned. He looked around and realized that the white clouds around him seemed to have grown pairs of eyes. They had been looking at him vigilantly. This feeling of being watched was very uncomfortable. It made him feel as if he was sitting on pins and needles. He snorted coldly and thought to himself, I don't believe that I can't figure out what's going on. He also had a little understanding in his heart. The treasures on the 7th floor of Langia must be related to these white clouds. The white clouds seem to be a world. He had broken into this world, so he must have some gains in this world. Perhaps the so-called treasures were related to these white clouds. But first, he had to catch a white cloud to solve the puzzle. I don't believe that I can't catch a white cloud. He looked around at the sparse white clouds. There were so many of them. It was impossible that he couldn't catch a single one. That would be too inferior. His feet swayed. Like lightning, his eyes locked onto the nearest white cloud. He rushed toward it with a whoosh. The white cloud seemed to have seen through his intentions. Seeing that he was about to get close, it flew away again with a whoosh. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth. He was determined. He stared at the target without blinking. He thought to himself, if I don't catch you, my surname isn't Tang. His speed was also very fast. He was like a ray of light, streaking across the sky. However, the white cloud was faster. Moreover, this white cloud was very smart. It used other white clouds as a shield and specifically hid behind them. The other white clouds also reacted quickly, but they were always one step slower than this white cloud. Although they didn't want to be a shield, they still couldn't get what they wanted in the end. That white cloud was like a fairy, shuttling back and forth among the white clouds. Moreover, its shape was no different from the other white clouds. It was easy for Tang Zheng to confuse it. It seemed to be deliberately playing with Tang Zheng, knowing that he couldn't catch up with it. Huff huff. Tang Zheng chased after it for a long time, panting heavily. But in the end, he was still helpless. He could only watch as the target hid here and there. He was helpless. Seeing that Tang Zheng stopped chasing, the target also stopped. Seeing that Tang Zheng didn't catch up with it for a long time, it actually swaggered back. Tang Zheng's eyes widened. He shouted, "You're really a demon, aren't you? How dare you play with me?" The target swayed a few times, as if it was showing off. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. This white cloud was like a child. It was very playful, but its strength couldn't be underestimated. He muttered in his heart, "What's the use of this thing hidden in the 7th floor of Langia? What's so special about these white clouds to him? Other than running fast, there didn't seem to be any other characteristics for the time being. Could it be that there was an extraordinary treasure hidden in the white clouds?" He couldn't guess. Everything could only be revealed when he caught the white cloud. He had been played with by this white cloud for so long that he had long recognized it. He directly ignored the other white clouds. If he didn't catch it, he would never give up. He panted and pretended to be exhausted. But from the corner of his eyes, he glanced at the target and found that it had swaggered back to not far away from him. It seemed to be sure that Tang Zheng couldn't catch up with it, so it became very unscrupulous. Tang Zheng had an idea and a plan came to his mind. Although this white cloud ran fast, its wisdom was obviously not comparable to a human's. Obviously, the white cloud was careless and swaggered back. It fell into the trap. Tang Zheng deliberately bent his body and panted heavily. But from the corner of his eyes, he kept staring at the white cloud. He saw that it was bold enough to come to a place only a few steps away from him before stopping. Then, it seemed to be sizing him up. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed, and he secretly shouted, "I've been waiting for this." Chapter 1260. Like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, Tang Zheng pounced on the white cloud, but a strong elastic force bounced back, trying to shake him off. Tang Zheng finally caught it, so how could he just let it go? So, he grabbed it firmly with both hands, his fingers digging into the cloud. The white cloud struggled madly, trying to get rid of Tang Zheng. However, Tang Zheng would not let go no matter how hard the white cloud struggled, to no avail. Tang Zheng was competing with the white cloud, thinking to himself, "I can't control you." With a stomp of his foot, Tang Zheng's body immediately stabilized, as if his legs were rooted in the sky, firmly trapping the white cloud. However, this advantage did not last long. The white cloud flew up with a whoosh, jumping up and down. "Ah!" Tang Zheng cried out in surprise. A strong airflow poured into his mouth, forcibly stopping his scream. His eyes widened, understanding the white cloud's intention. You think you can get rid of me like this? Dream on. Tang Zheng secretly gritted his teeth, letting the white cloud drift around. He was like a tail, swinging here and there. If it was a normal person, they would have been flung away by this fierce force. However, Tang Zheng's fingers were locked in the white cloud, not giving it a chance to break free. Both parties were in a deadlock, as if they were competing for patience. After an unknown amount of time, the white cloud slowed down as if it was exhausted. Tang Zheng's expression was not good, and he could not hide his exhaustion, but his eyes showed the light of victory. He finally won. Although no one announced his victory like the referee, he knew he had won. He had survived the white cloud's resistance, so he had won. The white cloud regained its calm, like a defeated soldier, dejected, flying slowly in the sky. Tang Zheng's entire body was lying on top of the white cloud, soft as if he was lying on a soft bed. This feels really good. He lazily lay on the white cloud, looking at the sky. There was no sun, only clouds. Suddenly, his vision blurred, and the other white clouds disappeared, leaving only this one white cloud. 3 snow-white words appeared in his mind. Somersault cloud. Tang Zheng looked at the 3 words and read them out loud. He was shocked. What the hell was the somersault cloud? Whoosh! As soon as this thought flashed through his mind, Bai Yunfei, who was underneath him, dashed out at an extremely fast speed, not at all slower than before. He subconsciously wanted to hold on to White Cloud, afraid that it would throw him off. However, his worries were unfounded. White Cloud was very peaceful. It was so stable that it was as if it was on land. There was not the slightest bump. Huh? Tang Zheng's eyes widened in astonishment as he stared at the white cloud beneath him. He seemed to have realized something. Could it be that the so-called treasure was this white cloud? He had tamed it, and then it submitted to him. No one answered the question. Tang Zheng suppressed the excitement in his heart and prepared to find out the truth. White Cloud's flying speed is so fast, and I can stay on top of it without worrying about falling from the clouds. This means that it is like a means of transportation. Tang Zheng analyzed little by little and finally came to a conclusion. Can I control on my own now? He was moved and decided to give it a try. To the left, he let out a shout. White Cloud, which was originally flying straight, turned to the left at a strange angle. Tang Zheng was almost shaken off. He patted his chest with lingering fear, and his eyes shone brightly. Success! I can really control this somersault cloud. He laughed wildly and shouted, Up! Whoosh! The somersault cloud flew up like a fighter jet suddenly rising. The angle was also very tricky as it soared into the sky. Tang Zheng did not have the feeling of falling from the somersault cloud. He seemed to have reached some kind of tacit understanding with the somersault cloud. No matter how the somersault cloud flipped, it was as if he was walking on flat ground. This made him even more surprised. He carefully stood up from the somersault cloud and no longer lay on it. However, he still did not fall. His feet seemed to be connected to the somersault cloud. He soared into the sky and enjoyed the extraordinary feeling brought by the somersault cloud. This was more comfortable and faster than the sword kinesis flight in the past. When he used the sword kinesis flight, he had to use his inner power to control Battle Soul. However, the somersault cloud did not need this at all. It also did not require him to use his inner power. It saved him energy and worry. The items in Langya Pavilion are indeed extraordinary. This somersault cloud is much better than sword kinesis flight. Battle Soul has fallen into Qi Yu's hands. It's just nice to use the somersault cloud as a means of transportation. It's just that the somersault cloud is so big. It can't just follow me like this. That would be too shocking. As soon as he finished speaking, he realized that the somersault cloud under his feet was changing. It was becoming transparent bit by bit. What's going on? Tang Zheng was shocked and exclaimed. The somersault cloud's change was very fast. In a short while, it was completely transparent and disappeared. Without the somersault cloud, Tang Zheng's head trembled, and he fell rapidly from the sky. The wind whistled past his ears, making his heart tremble. Somersault cloud, Tang Zheng shouted. He was quick-witted. His falling momentum came to an abrupt stop. A white cloud stopped steadily under his feet, preventing him from falling any further. His eyes lit up as he understood another key point. It turned out that the somersault cloud could be summoned. Well, he did not use it. The somersault cloud would disappear automatically and not be visible to the naked eye. Only when he needed it, he just had to shout and the somersault cloud would appear under his feet. This was many times more powerful than sword kinesis flight. This is too surprising. He pressed his hand to his chest and could not calm down for a long time. He controlled the somersault cloud and flew in the sky. It was as if it was tailor-made for him. There was no discomfort at all. The feeling of being able to fly to his heart's content was unforgettable. There were so many white clouds in the sky just now. When I tamed the somersault cloud, those white clouds disappeared immediately. There must be a mystery behind this. Tang Zheng stood on the somersault cloud and held his chin with 2 fingers. He was deep in thought. Could it be that every dragon tribe member can choose one of those white clouds when they step onto the 7th level of Langu Pavilion? From there, they can control the white clouds. Once one white cloud is tamed, there's no need for the other white clouds to exist. That's why they disappeared. His guess was very close to the truth. In fact, since ancient times, in many legends and the knowledge of humans, the dragon tribe was inseparable from the ability to control clouds and rain. In terms of controlling clouds and rain, the other tribes could not be compared to the dragon tribe. In fact, this knowledge was not completely wrong. The dragon tribe was indeed very talented in controlling clouds and rain. When the dragon tribe reached a certain level and obtained the corresponding remarkable powers and treasures in Langu Pavilion, this skill could be displayed perfectly. The ability to control clouds was the key point. The 7th level of Langu Pavilion was a sky of clouds. After every dragon tribe member entered the sky of clouds, they would tame one of the white clouds. From there, they would understand the remarkable powers of controlling clouds. This was the foundation for the ability to control clouds and rain. However, there was one thing that Tang Zheng did not know. When the dragon tribe tamed a white cloud, these white clouds were not the somersault cloud. The somersault cloud that he tamed was very special. It was completely different from the other white clouds. In the past, some dragon tribe members had encountered the somersault cloud by chance and tried to tame it. However, in the end, they returned without success. In the end, a rule was passed down among the dragon tribe. One should never try to tame the somersault cloud in the sky of clouds. That would be a waste of opportunity. This was because the dragon tribe only had one chance to enter the sky of clouds. If they failed to tame the white clouds, they would lose the chance to tame the white clouds forever. In the future, they would not be able to control clouds and rain. Without this remarkable powers, how could they be called the dragon tribe? Tang Zheng did not have anyone to guide him. He was like a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers. Therefore, he was not afraid of anything. By chance, he encountered the somersault cloud. In the end, with his extraordinary perseverance and strength, he finally tamed the somersault cloud. This was something that many dragon tribe members dreamed of. However, after being taught a hard lesson by countless dragon tribe ancestors, they all chose to follow their ancestors' instructions and not daydream about taming the somersault cloud. As the saying goes, fortune favors fools. No one would have thought that Tang Zheng would be able to tame the somersault cloud. When he was done tossing and turning in the sky, he slowly came to a stop. However, a ripple appeared in the sky. This ripple was like a stone thrown into a lake. The ripple spread out and the sky began to fluctuate. The scene in front of him slowly became illusory. Before he could react, the scene in front of him changed abruptly. The sky disappeared, and so did the somersault cloud. He was back in the Langu Pavilion. In front of him was a white cloud. He was standing in front of the white cloud. Without a doubt, this white cloud was definitely not the somersault cloud. His hand gently touched this white cloud. It was as if he wanted to return to the illusion just now. In the end, he realized that it was all in vain. His fingers could not poke into the white cloud at all. Even if he used all his strength, it was all in vain. He gradually understood that the illusion just now could only be entered once. He was not a greedy person. Since things had come to this, he did not wish to go in again. Moreover, he now had the somersault cloud. This was his greatest gain. He looked down at his feet. It was the floor. With a thought, he called out somersault cloud. In the blink of an eye, there was a snow-white cloud under his feet. If it was not the somersault cloud, what else could it be? He had successfully brought the somersault cloud out of the illusion. His eyes lit up. He could not wait to leave the Langia pavilion and test the power of the somersault cloud in the real world. When the time came, he would not have to worry about being discovered by other enemies or fighter jets when he rode the somersault cloud in the sky. He could hide perfectly in the clouds. How would his enemies expect him to hide in a white cloud? This was an excellent way to hide his tracks. However, he eventually suppressed his restless thoughts. After carefully observing the somersault cloud, he made the somersault cloud disappear with a thought. He took a deep look at the white cloud in the middle of the 7th floor. Then, he turned and walked to the 8th floor. At the staircase, he subconsciously stopped and looked up. Although it was only a dozen steps, he would definitely not be able to see the mystery above if he did not walk up. Therefore, he lifted his leg and stepped on the stairs. Chapter 1261. Thump, thump, thump. Tang Zheng crossed the stairs one by one and stood on the 8th floor of the Langia pavilion. A humid smell assaulted his nostrils along with the sound of rain hitting banana leaves. It sounded like large and small pearls falling on a jade plate. Ding, dang, dang, and it kept ringing. Tang Zheng was slightly startled. He did not expect such a big movement on the 8th floor. He was not frightened. Instead, he widened his eyes curiously and looked at everything in front of him. It was a heavy rain, and the rain fell from the endless sky. His feet were wet, and thousands of water lines spread to his feet from all directions. His gaze was solemn as he muttered to himself, "The 8th floor is rain. What's the mystery behind it?" He shook his head. He could not figure it out, so he could only walk forward. His feet landed on the water, and water droplets splashed everywhere like pearls. He had only taken a few steps when he felt something. He turned around and saw that the stairs to the 8th floor had disappeared. He was standing in a world of rain. Undoubtedly, this was another illusion, but it was very real. The feeling of the raindrops hitting his face was no different from the real world. The Langia Pavilion is full of illusions. It's really impressive. I wonder which almighty dragon built the Langia Pavilion. He could not help but sigh. Since the 8th floor was rain, it must be related to the rain. He shuttled back and forth in the rain for a while, but he did not have any inspiration. The rain covered the world, and there was rain in every corner. He could not lock onto a white cloud and use all his skills like he did on the 7th floor. This time, even if he had endless strength, he could not find a target and was at his wit's end. This was the worst situation. What should I do? He lowered his head and ignored the rain. The rain grew heavier and heavier. It hit his head, cheeks, and shoulders hard. He became a drowned rat. He could have activated his power to block the rain, but he did not do so because he wanted to sense the mystery. Instead, he completely exposed himself to the rain. After half a day, it was useless. He frowned and looked at the rain helplessly. He was at a loss. Just as he was at his wit's end and was about to go crazy, a white cloud gradually appeared in the rain. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he stared at the somersault cloud. He exclaimed to himself, "Why did the somersault cloud appear by itself?" The somersault cloud appeared on its own and revealed its tracks. Facing the downpour, it soared into the sky. Tang Zheng seemed to have understood something. With a leap, he jumped onto the somersault cloud. Like a beam of light, he flew into the sky towards the end of the rain. As far as the eye could see, there was no more rain in the sky. However, the ground was still covered in rain. "Somersault cloud, what do you want me to do?" Tang Zheng had a feeling that the somersault cloud was trying to give him some sort of hint. However, the somersault cloud could not speak, so it could only express itself with actions. Whoosh! A wind began to blow in the sky. The rainwater rose against the current, and instead of falling down, it floated up into the sky. Ah! Tang Zheng had never seen such an abnormal scene. Rainwater flying into the sky. If this was not strange, then what was? Before he could figure out what was going on, the rainwater rushed into the somersault cloud. The somersault cloud was like a person who drank a stomach full of water, rapidly expanding. Tang Zheng stepped on the somersault cloud and had the illusion that he was stepping on a swamp with water under his feet. Tang Zheng did not know what was going on, so he could only activate the Dragon God technique. The Dragon God technique was the key to everything. At his wit's end, using this technique should be the most effective and safest method. Sure enough, when he activated the Dragon God technique, there was a subtle change in the world. It was as if everything was still for 3 seconds. He could even see the rainwater in the sky solidifying. Tang Zheng was secretly delighted. The Dragon God technique was indeed effective. At the same time, a purple lightning bolt leaped out from Yuanying's body and followed his meridians to the surface of his body. Kacha! A sudden clap of thunder exploded in the sky. The purple lightning fell into the somersault cloud, and the snow-white somersault cloud was immediately dyed purple. Electric light scuttled through the clouds like agile electric snakes. It was as if a bolt of lightning had flashed across Tang Zheng's head. He was shocked, and a feeling of enlightenment arose spontaneously. His eyes lit up as he muttered to himself, "So that's how it is, so that's how it is." I was almost blinded by a single leaf. The corner of his mouth curled up, revealing a relieved smile. It turned out that the 7th and 8th floors were connected. The somersault cloud and the rainwater in the 8th floor were closely related. The Dragon Clan was particular about clouds and rain. He had a cloud, and that was the somersault cloud. Not only could he ride it for long distances, but he could also travel through the clouds. Summoning rain was naturally another aspect, and that was the ability that the 8th floor would bestow upon him. The physical body and the physical body were two inseparable parts that complemented each other. Only then would the somersault cloud automatically appear and fly into the sky. The rainwater that filled the sky would converge towards the somersault cloud. Such an anomaly seemed perfectly normal to him at the moment. The Dragon God technique had awakened him. That lightning-like light was emitted from the dragon mark. He looked at the rich rainwater contained in the somersault cloud. He opened his hands wide and suspended them above the somersault cloud. After circulating the Dragon God technique, an invisible force spread out from his palms and enveloped the somersault cloud. Water gathers clouds. Clouds give birth to water. Lightning is the guide, clouds and rain. He muttered as he stretched out his hand and tapped the somersault cloud a few times. A few streams of energy flew into the somersault cloud. Kacha! A bolt of purple lightning split open the somersault cloud and fell from it, drawing a long purple line between heaven and earth. The sky seemed to have been split into two by this bolt of purple lightning. The terrifying pressure of the lightning made people shudder. Tang Zheng had seen the lightning released by the thundercloud beast, and it was far less powerful than the purple lightning. He smacked his lips and clicked his tongue in wonder. This purple lightning formed from the essence of the moonlight is really a huge gain. It seems like I have to study it carefully in the future. He suppressed the many emotions in his heart and focused his attention on the scene in front of him. After the lightning fell, the rain in the sky poured down and sprinkled on the ground. The downpour was even heavier than before. As the rain pattered on the ground, pits appeared one after another. Water dripping pierced his stone. His pupils shrank as he stared at the small pits. These were the pits formed by the rain. As the saying goes, water dripping pierces stone. This was the result of months and years of accumulation. However, the scene in front of him was completed in an instant. He could imagine how powerful the force contained in the rain was. The rain in the sky was like a fierce attack, causing people to raise their eyebrows. If it is a large-scale attack, like the cloud summoning rain against the enemy, of course, it can't be underestimated. Waves surged in his heart. They were facing a lot of enemies now, and there might be more in the future. It was inevitable that there would be friction with a large army. Although the attacks were fierce, the area of effect was too small. This cloud-summoning rain attack could be considered powerful as it could attack the enemy in a large area. I thought the cloud-summoning rain attack was just for show and didn't have much power. I didn't expect it to have such power. This is really shocking. The dragon tribe is indeed the dragon tribe. Even the things obtained in the Langia Pavilion are so powerful, not to mention the various mystiques that I specially cultivated. However, he didn't know that although the dragon tribe had the cloud-summoning rain attack, their attacks were far less powerful. He had such a shocking effect because he was strengthened by the power of the purple lightning. After the rain fell, there were densely packed small pits on the ground. It was more spectacular than the surface of the moon. He rode the somersault cloud and flew down from midair. The sky had cleared up. There was no more rain or lightning. The moment the purple lightning split the somersault cloud, it flew into the sky and merged with the earth. Tang Zheng's Yuanying could produce this kind of purple lightning, so he didn't care. If it was an ordinary person, they would probably try their best to get the purple lightning back. Looking at the densely packed pits on the ground, he could imagine how terrifying the power was just now. He took a deep breath and was greatly encouraged. He stepped on the small pits and walked forward step by step. He was like a general inspecting the fruits of victory, not letting go of any details. As he walked, the scene in front of him became ethereal. He was stunned and raised his head. The world in front of him had disappeared, and he had returned to the Langia Pavilion. The Langia Pavilion was empty, and there was not a single thing in it. However, everything that had happened just now was extremely real. He could imagine how much magical power was hidden in this seemingly empty place. The somersault cloud disappeared again. Tang Zheng measured the floor underground with his feet and didn't find any clues. He could only give up. Anyway, he had already gotten what he wanted. He had learned the cloud-summoning rain attack. When he activated the Dragon God technique, the somersault cloud would appear. Then, water would gather into clouds. Clouds would give birth to water. And with lightning as a guide, the cloud-summoning rain attack would be completed. If there's a drought somewhere, I can use this method to resolve the drought. This is much more reliable than praying to the heavens for rain. Of course, this was just his wishful thinking. He looked around the 8th floor again and then walked down the stairs one by one. In the past, he would try to go to a higher floor. Now that he had repeatedly hit a wall, he understood the rules. If the Dragon God technique did not reach a higher level, it would be useless even if he was badly beaten. There was no way he could go to a higher floor. Instead, he would be kicked out of the Langia Pavilion because of his recklessness. He could only enter the Langia Pavilion again after a month. Tang Zheng saw that it was still early. Since the Langia Pavilion did not kick them out, it meant that they could continue to stay in the Langia Pavilion. However, there was no place in the Langia Pavilion that he wanted to explore. Therefore, he left the Langia Pavilion step by step. When he raised his head and saw the huge horizontal board, a shadow flashed across his mind. It was an inverted tower. It was exactly the same as the Langia Pavilion, except that it was inverted. He remembered the Golden Dragon's repeated reminders to not go to the space outside the Langia Pavilion. He had already been there once and gained a lot. This time he still had time. Of course, he would not waste his time and opportunity. Chapter 1262. He walked in the opposite direction of the Langia Pavilion and went deep into the thick fog. The fog was the same as before, causing him to lose his sense of direction instantly. He followed the feeling he had previously. This was not the outside world, but the Langia Pavilion. He could not fly, so his speed was not fast. He suddenly had an idea. Could he use the somersault cloud here? Thinking of this, he was excited and decided to give it a try. Somersault cloud, he shouted, and the somersault cloud appeared under his feet. Rise! At his command, the somersault cloud flew up smoothly at an extremely fast speed. It was like a whirlwind rushing into the fog, leaving a long trail behind. Suddenly, a mysterious feeling arose spontaneously. He was overjoyed as he knew that he was heading in the right direction. The reason he was searching in this fog was to find that feeling. Back then, he was stepping on air, but he couldn't fly, so he quickly fell down. This time, He had the somersault cloud and did not need to fall anymore. He could control his speed on his own. This is the place. He fixed his gaze on the fog below him. He stepped on the somersault cloud and swooped down. As expected, he had already exceeded the height of the ground, but he did not collide with any obstacles. Instead, he flew down smoothly. The somersault cloud is extraordinary. It is not restricted by the dragon seal and can move freely. In the outside world, it is probably even more powerful. He was excited, and his eyes were filled with anticipation. Bang! With a dull sound, the somersault cloud collided with a hard object. However, the somersault cloud absorbed all the impact and did not hurt Tang Zheng at all. He knew that this was the end. His vision suddenly opened up, and there was not a single bit of fog. A huge, inverted Langia pavilion stood in front of him. I am finally here again. He jumped down from the somersault cloud, which disappeared without a trace. He walked into the Langia pavilion step by step. After passing through the simple and unadorned door, the forest of steels was exposed to his eyes. This was different from the previous time. He knew how powerful the dragon's soul was. It was something that dragon slayers dreamed of. Although these were only the steels on the first floor, each of them contained a dragon soul. Regardless of their strength, they were all vital to him. Once he absorbed the dragon soul, it would be greatly beneficial to the dragon god technique. Tang Zheng took a deep look and thought that the dragon slayer was really despicable. He was digging up the ancestral grave of the dragon clan to strengthen himself. No wonder the dragon clan saw the dragon slayer as their mortal enemy. If it were him, he would have done the same. Last time, Tang Zheng had accidentally absorbed a dragon soul and gained a lot. But this time, he did not plan to absorb a dragon soul. His relationship with the dragon clan was inextricably linked. Moreover, he had subdued the golden dragon, so how could he be so heartless as to absorb the dragon soul? He was not like the dragon slayer who had no bottom line and would do anything to make himself stronger. He went down to the 6th floor in one go. Last time, he was blocked when he went down to the 6th floor. He guessed that this was related to the realm of the dragon god technique that he cultivated. It was like another Langia pavilion. What cultivation level would one need to reach the corresponding floor? He successfully descended to the 6th floor, and his guess was completely confirmed. His heart was calm, and as far as the eye could see, it was a barren expanse of space. He took a step forward, and the scene changed drastically. A simple and unadorned forest of tombstones appeared in front of him. He could only see the tombstones on each floor when he was in the middle of it. Each tombstone buried a powerful dragon clan cultivator. There were more than 100 tombstones on the 5th floor, but there were only about 80 tombstones on the 6th floor. This meant that the dragon clan cultivators buried on this floor were more powerful, and their dragon souls were more powerful. He subconsciously pressed his hand on a tombstone. Roar! With a dragon's roar, a golden dragon rose from the tombstone. It was shining with golden light and circled in the air, looking down at Tang Zheng. Although there was no trace of hostility, the dragon's might was still breathtaking. Tang Zheng had the dragon god technique, and his cultivation was not weak. Of course, he would not feel uncomfortable. If it were others, they would have already prostrated themselves on the ground, not daring to move at all. On the contrary, the dragon chi in his body was also restless, especially the 8-clawed little golden dragon in the dragon seal. Its eyes were shining with an urgent look, as if it wanted to climb out and fly toward the dragon soul in the sky. He forcibly suppressed this thought. He did not want to absorb the dragon soul. He just wanted to cross the floors and see if there was anything else in this inverted Langia pavilion other than the tombstones. He took a step back without hesitation, and his hand left the tombstone. The dragon soul in the air rushed toward the tombstone and circled around it. After a while, it disappeared. Tang Zheng turned and left the 6th floor and continued to go deeper. There were only about 50 tombstones on the 7th floor. He followed the same pattern and observed the dragon soul again. It was indeed more powerful than the dragon soul on the 6th floor. His judgment was correct. With every floor down, the dragon's soul hidden within would become even more powerful. However, he did not find anything other than the tombstones. He did not want to absorb the dragon's soul. So looking at these tombstones was like suffering in his heart. This was like a foodie looking at a table full of delicacies, but he could not eat them. This was indescribably cruel. He let out a long sigh and hurriedly turned his head. He did not look at this tombstone forest anymore, and resolutely went down to the 8th floor. If the 8th floor was also full of tombstones, and there was nothing else, perhaps after his dragon god technique broke through in the future, he would not continue to wander around here. After all, for a cemetery, it was better to let the ancestors of the dragon clan rest in peace and not disturb them. Moreover, every time he passed by the tombstones and saw all kinds of dragon souls, it required a lot of willpower to resist this temptation. Bang, bang, bang. He walked down the steps, one step at a time. When he finished the last step, his eyes were empty again. His heart sank. Could it be that the 8th floor was also a tombstone forest? He was not in a hurry to turn around and leave. Since he was here, he would go in and take a look to prevent himself from regretting it in the future. He crossed the threshold and went deep into the barren land. The scene in front of him changed again, and tombstones appeared in front of him. The sense of vicissitudes from these tombstones was even stronger. He reached out and pressed his hand on a tombstone with ease. A dragon's roar sounded, and before he could react, the dragon's roar sounded one after another, resounding through the tombstone forest. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Golden dragon souls flew up from all the tombstones. There were only about 30 tombstones in this tombstone forest, and these 30 dragon souls rose into the sky, which was a magnificent sight. The dragon souls intertwined, connected head to tail, and rotated rapidly. Golden light flickered, and it was so dazzling that he could not open his eyes. Tang Zheng subconsciously covered his eyes with his hand. After a while, the golden light weakened. He finally moved his hand away. Suddenly, his eyes widened. A dragon boat appeared in the sky, shining with golden light. There were lifelike golden dragons carved on the boat, and it was mighty and extraordinary. Author's digression. Today was the first time in my life that I received an infusion, and my first time was gone in the hands of the little sister nurse. Chapter 1263. The dragon boat floated in midair with an imposing aura. Just the dragon's might emitted from it was enough to make one have the urge to prostrate themselves before it. Tang Zheng frowned. How did the gathering of dragon souls turn into a dragon boat? He did not have time to think too much as the dragon boat flew toward him bit by bit. He subconsciously took a few steps back and looked at the dragon boat in shock. Suddenly, his eyes widened and fixed on the dragon boat. An old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion was standing on the dragon boat. Just now, he was blocked by the dragon boat, so Tang Zheng did not feel it. At this moment, he realized that the dragon's might that made him revered did not come from the dragon boat, but from this old man. When such an old man appeared in the steel forest, Tang Zheng's attention was completely focused as he looked at him with a burning gaze. The old man's gaze was sharp as he looked at Tang Zheng with his divine sense and asked, "You're a human, but you've cultivated the dragon god technique of my dragon clan?" "Yes." Tang Zheng did not hide it. Under the old man's sharp gaze, there was no need to hide it at all. "Wonderful, wonderful." The old man stroked his snow-white beard and clicked his tongue in admiration. Tang Zheng frowned and asked, "What's so wonderful about it?" "You can be a surprise attack and win by surprise," the old man explained. Tang Zheng was even more confused. Surprise attack? Who am I going to deal with? Our common enemy. When the old man said this, hatred flashed in his eyes. It was obvious that he hated this so-called enemy to the core. Tang Zheng thought that the only person who could make the dragon clan hate him to the core was probably the dragon slayer. Could it be that the old man wants me to deal with the dragon slayer? In his impression, whether it was the scene of the battle between the dragon slayer and the dragon clan in the illusion of the Langia Pavilion or the golden dragon's description, the dragon slayer was a very powerful existence. Tang Zheng never thought that he would become an enemy of the dragon slayer. With his current cultivation, he did not have the confidence to defeat the dragon slayer. However, this was clearly what the old man meant. Thus, he began to feel uneasy. "Elder, you want me to deal with the Dragon Slayer?" In response to Tang Zheng's straightforward question, the old man was gratified and said, "You also know about the existence of the Dragon Slayer, which means that you were sent by the heavens to the Dragon Clan. You are the best candidate to deal with the Dragon Slayer. How can I be a match for a Dragon Slayer?" Tang Zheng pointed at his chest and asked. The old man shook his head slowly. "Don't belittle yourself. Your potential is far from being realized. You have to believe in yourself." Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. He didn't expect others to think so highly of him. "You don't understand me, but you want me to deal with the Dragon Slayer. Why do you think I agreed?" The old man looked at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze and said, "You must agree because you are already the target of the Dragon Slayer." Tang Zheng's pupils shrank as he vaguely guessed something. "Your dragon god art has been cultivated to its current level, and you also have a dragon soul. That is the goal of a Dragon Slayer. The Dragon Slayer will definitely not let go of a target like you." The old man's answer made all the hairs on Tang Zheng's body stand on end. Although he had guessed this point, hearing it from the old man's mouth still made him feel quite uncomfortable. The old man looked at Tang Zheng's reaction and continued, "But there is a huge difference between you and an ordinary dragon. This difference is what makes you a surprise soldier." "What's the difference?" Tang Zheng's eyes widened in surprise. "Although you have a dragon soul, because you are a human, the dragon soul will not appear like the Dragon Clan. This can also blind the eyes of the Dragon Slayer, making it difficult for them to find you." Tang Zheng looked pensive, as if he had comprehended something. After the Dragon Slayer absorbs the dragon soul, because the Dragon Clan will have mutual feelings, the Dragon Slayer will also have this ability. However, he will not be able to truly sense your existence. At this time, you can catch him off guard and kill him. Your wishful thinking is very good, but with my little bit of cultivation, how can I deal with the Dragon Slayer? I said before that you have great potential and will become very powerful. You have to believe in yourself." The old man emphasized. Tang Zheng fell into deep thought. Regarding the various actions of the Dragon Slayer, of course, he was not ashamed. However, the other party was so strong. He wanted to seek justice for the Dragon Clan, but he was powerless. Moreover, the Dragon Slayer was very far away from him. Where could he go to seek justice for the Dragon Clan? As if seeing through his thoughts, the old man said, "You think too simply. I have a prophecy that the Dragon Slayer will find you very soon." Tang Zheng's heart trembled. He thought to himself, was it really that mysterious and serious? How could there be a Dragon Slayer in this world? "You cannot believe what I say, but the facts will prove everything," the old man said calmly. Tang Zheng's expression became very serious. He looked at the old man with mixed feelings and said, "Is there any basis for this? This is the result of gathering the abilities of all the dragon souls in this steel forest. The Dragon Slayer can sense the Dragon Clan, and the Dragon Clan is not a person who will sit still and wait for death. Therefore, in the past, we also researched a method to sense the Dragon Slayer." "There's a method to sense the Dragon Slayer?" This was the first time Tang Zheng heard of this news. The Golden Dragon did not tell him this. "Yes, these are all things that we old things came up with when we were on our deathbed. We did not have time to pass them down to the younger generation," the old man said regretfully. Tang Zheng suddenly understood. No wonder the Golden Dragon did not know. "We can teach you this method so that you can sense the Dragon Slayer. From then on, you will be in the light and he will be in the dark. It will be even easier for you to win by surprise." Tang Zheng was a little moved. It was not a burden to have more skills. Moreover, the old man said that the Dragon Slayer was coming. In this critical moment of life and death, how could he let his guard down? Once he had this ability, he could make preparations as soon as possible or avoid it in time. Wasn't the Dragon Slayer unable to see that he had a dragon soul? This way, wouldn't he be able to easily slip under his nose? Then, when he was unprepared, he could attack the Dragon Slayer. Perhaps he could really succeed. "Senior, please bestow this ability to me," Tang Zheng said sincerely. The old man waved his hand and said, "Don't worry, I have more important things to tell you. You're the first person to come here after so many years. There are some things that I must tell you. Otherwise, those stupid Dragon Clan juniors will never be able to reach this place. Tang Zheng's heart moved. He seemed to have guessed something and asked tentatively, "Do you want to talk about this inverted Langu pavilion?" The old man looked deeply at Tang Zheng. He could not hide his praise and said, "You are really smart. You actually guessed so much." After a pause, the old man sighed and said, "Yes, I want to tell you about this place. You should know that after the Dragon Clan dies, the dragon soul is not destroyed. The dragon soul is buried with the dragon body. However, back then, the dragon slayer searched everywhere for this kind of dragon soul and absorbed it to improve his strength. This is something that made the entire Dragon Clan very angry and hateful. In the end, we thought of a way, which is to build a large tomb inside the dragon seal and bury the dead Dragon Clan here. Langu Pavilion is a place that only the Dragon Clan can reach. Even if the Dragon Slayer absorbed the dragon soul, he would not be able to reach Langu Pavilion. Therefore, it is absolutely safe for the Dragon Clan to be buried here. Moreover, since ancient times when the Dragon Clan came to Langu Pavilion, their activity area was all limited to Langu Pavilion. They were not allowed to set foot in other places. This gave them a good cover. The Dragon Clan is very loyal and would not disobey the orders of their ancestors. Naturally, they would not come here. Back then, in consideration of the safety of all the dragon souls, we naturally did not tell the Dragon Clan that these tombs were buried here. Only people like you who are not part of the Dragon Clan can come here by chance. Therefore, you're the fated person. The Dragon Clan's hope is on you. At that moment, Tang Zheng felt that there was a heavy burden on his shoulders. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "I'm not that powerful." The old man did not force him and continued to talk nonstop. However, we neglected a problem. The Dragon Slayer is a powerhouse. They have absorbed so many dragon souls. Maybe some heaven-defying powerhouse can find a way to enter Langu Pavilion. There was once a Dragon Slayer who had this extravagant hope, but he did not succeed. However, so many years have passed. Maybe someone will think of a way. We have to be careful. This is the will of the heavens. You came here, so we can be on guard. Only you know the secret of this place. You must not tell anyone else, including the Dragon Clan. From now on, you have an additional responsibility on your shoulders. That is to protect this place and protect these dragon souls from falling into the hands of the Dragon Slayer. Tang Zheng glanced at the tombstones with a heavy heart. Of course, he knew how serious the old man's words would be if they became reality. Although he had only explored the 8th floor, the number of dragon souls had already made him dumbfounded. Once a Dragon Slayer absorbed so many dragon souls, he could not imagine how powerful he would become. Tang Zheng swallowed his saliva and said with difficulty, "If a Dragon Slayer comes here, how would I know? You don't have to worry about this. In a while, you will be connected to this place. Once a Dragon Slayer comes here, you will know." Tang Zheng suddenly understood. The old man hesitated and wanted to say something, but stopped. Seeing this, Tang Zheng said directly, "If you have something to say, say it." The old man sighed heavily and said, "There is something I have to tell you. Although I don't have to tell you, our Dragon Clan is open and above board. If we don't tell you, it's not what the Dragon Clan would do." Seeing how serious he was, Tang Zheng immediately had an ominous premonition. He said nervously, "I'm all ears. Once you are connected to this place, once the Dragon Slayer breaks through here, if you are unable to stop the Dragon Slayer and allow him to absorb all the dragon souls here, then your life will come to an end." The old man's tone was very heavy, but it was not as heavy as Tang Zheng's heart after hearing this. His expression changed drastically as he looked at the old man in disbelief. If that was the case, wouldn't he be sharing the same fate as this inverted Langu Pavilion? Chapter 1264. From Old Man Zheng's reaction, it was clear that this matter had affected him greatly. 520520 XS. Law updates quickly. The website page is refreshing. There are few advertisements, no pop-up windows. I like this kind of website the most. I must leave a good review. Novel Tang Zheng hesitated for a moment, then asked hesitantly, "Is this really necessary?" The old man nodded seriously. "This is a place where the other dragons have yet to reach. You are the only one here, so you must be connected to this place. Then, once the dragon slayers arrive here, you will be the first to know." Tang Zheng didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Such a heavy responsibility was on his shoulders. This was related to the rise and fall of the dragon race, and even more so to his own business. Of course, you can also refuse and leave this place. Pretend that this never happened and never heard of this matter. The old man couldn't hide his disappointment. Tang Zheng really wanted to say yes and agree, but in the end, he didn't say it. Although he didn't flaunt himself as a noble person, he understood the seriousness of this matter. He cultivated the dragon god technique and was already the target of the dragon slayers. Moreover, as the old man said, once the dragon slayers absorbed the dragon souls in this steel forest, no one would be able to stop them. Did the dragon slayers really only target the dragon race? Not necessarily. Once a person or a race's strength reached a certain level, the corresponding ambition would also expand. They wouldn't just be limited to their current achievements, but would expand outwards. Once the dragon slayers destroyed the dragon race, what would they do? Could it be that they would cease all activities and disappear without a trace? Of course not. Their next target might be other humans, and it might even be Tang Zheng's world. Therefore, whether it was for public or private reasons, he couldn't sit idly by. Moreover, the golden dragon followed him. Once the dragon slayers attacked, the golden dragon would bear the brunt and its life would be in danger. Would he just watch it die? Of course he couldn't. Therefore, in this multiple choice question, he didn't have a choice at all. He said, "I promise you." The old man's eyebrows rose high, and he couldn't hide his surprise. "You are deeply righteous. The entire dragon race will be grateful to you." Tang Zheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. "If there was another way, maybe I wouldn't have agreed. I'm not as noble as you think. But in the end, you agreed, and I only—" The old man didn't nitpick. "What do we do next?" Once he agreed, Tang Zheng felt a lot more relaxed and relieved of the burden in his heart. The old man said solemnly, "The dragon race will not treat you unfairly, and neither will I." This voice seemed to have a magical power, and it lingered in Tang Zheng's mind like a resounding bell, lasting for a long time. Tang Zheng's mind was shaken. He was confused by this voice, and in an instant his mind calmed down. The old man stood on the dragon boat and turned into a beam of golden light. In an instant, he rushed toward Tang Zheng. "This is a gift for you." The old man's voice echoed in his ears. Tang Zheng didn't have time to react before the golden light completely enveloped him. His pupils suddenly widened, and he immediately understood what this meant. The old man and the dragon boat were both condensed from dragon souls, which meant that these golden lights were all dragon souls, and they were the dragon souls of this steel forest. Last time, he accidentally absorbed a dragon soul, which benefited him greatly. This time, he absorbed so many dragon souls in one go. He couldn't imagine what kind of reaction there would be. He became excited, and his eyes even turned red. The old man's gift couldn't be said to be light, and it far exceeded Tang Zheng's expectations. He originally thought that the old man would give him a few pointers, but it wasn't this heavy gift. Immediately, he felt the burden on his shoulders become heavier. He temporarily suppressed his fluctuating emotions and quietly felt the feeling of the dragon's soul entering his body. An ancient text appeared in his mind, and he only skimmed through it once before he understood the meaning of this text. It turned out that this text was about how to sense the existence of dragon slayers. In fact, this was the same principle as how dragon slayers could sense the existence of dragons. Since dragon slayers could sense the existence of dragons based on dragon souls, then they could do the opposite. If dragon slayers had too many dragon souls in their bodies, then dragons could naturally follow the map and sense the existence of dragon slayers. It is indeed amazing. This principle is easy to understand, but it is not easy to find the corresponding method to sense it. Therefore, according to what the old man said, it was a method that was finally summed up by a group of people. It is just that there is no time to pass it on to the next generation. Tang Zheng was in awe. This method wasn't difficult, and Tang Zheng understood it after pondering for a while. Then, his attention was firmly attracted by the dragon soul that was like a flood and ferocious beast. The strength of a dragon soul was not what ordinary people could imagine. After the golden light entered his body, it turned into dragon souls, and there were dozens of them in total. The dragon souls followed the 8 extraordinary meridians, limbs, and bones, and rushed to every part of his body. Ah! He raised his head and let out a high-pitched cry that sounded like a dragon's roar. The feeling of the dragon soul swimming in his meridians was not good. After all, every dragon soul represented a powerful energy, and his meridians were only so wide. The dragon's soul crashed in his meridians as if it was going to break through his meridians. Tang Zheng thought bitterly. The old man really dared to make a move. This gift was very generous, and he wasn't afraid that he wouldn't be able to bear it and would directly die. Then wouldn't his plan be ruined? Of course, this thought only flashed through his mind, and he had no choice but to focus on dealing with the dragon soul. He hurriedly activated the dragon god technique, tried to use the technique to comfort or guide the dragon soul. Sure enough, this method worked. The dragon soul immediately became less restless. Under the guidance of the dragon god technique, a few of the dragon soul actually settled down in his meridians. He had a total of 9 main meridians, and these dragon souls were all immersed in the main meridians. When those few dragon souls settled down, the dragon souls settled down one after another. Even so, the energy contained in the dragon soul was too powerful. After settling down, his meridians could not completely absorb it. His meridians could explode at any time. If that happened, even if he did not die, he would lose a layer of skin. He gritted his teeth and held on. This time, if he did not die, he would live. Once he crossed this hurdle, his gains would definitely be proportional to the hardships and pain he experienced. Although he was in the dragon seal, in reality, his body and the body in the dragon seal corresponded to each other. In reality, he was sitting cross-legged, and a faint golden light appeared on his body. Each of the main meridians contained a powerful dragon soul. The golden dragon was attached to his body and was the first to discover this abnormality. Especially since it was originally a dragon, it was very sensitive to dragon souls. It had an unbelievable change, and only one voice echoed in its mind. Why are there so many dragon souls in his body? Chapter 1265. The Golden Dragon could not explain why there were so many dragon souls in Tang Zheng's body. He knew how important dragon souls were to the dragon tribe. A good novel. Since ancient times, there was no other place that could gather so many dragon souls other than the dragon tribe graveyard. However, the dragon tribe graveyard was attacked by the dragon slayer. Where did Tang Zheng find the dragon tribe graveyard? The golden dragon had so many questions, but no one could answer him. He could only look at Tang Zheng, not wanting to miss any details. At the same time, the powerful dragon power spread out from the room and shocked everyone in the villa. The Empyrean fairy was sensitive and rushed out of her room. She lingered at the door for a while and opened Tang Zheng's door. When she saw Tang Zheng, her eyes widened. She was not from the dragon tribe, so she might not be as shocked as the golden dragon. However, she could guess how extraordinary this scene was. What's going on with him? Why is the dragon power so strong? It's even stronger than the dragon power from the golden dragon. She mumbled to herself and did not know what to do. Xiao Bai and the Red Moon beasts arrived one after another. Xiao Bai wanted to jump onto Tang Zheng's body to find out what was going on, but the Empyrean fairy stopped him in time. Xiao Bai, don't mess around. This is very important to him. The Empyrean fairy warned him seriously. Xiao Bai pouted and was unhappy. He could only look at Tang Zheng without blinking. The 2 Red Moon beasts, one big and one small, were in high spirits. They did not even blink as they stared at Tang Zheng. It seemed like they were trying to figure out what was going on. Fang Shishir and the rest did not care about their tiredness. They blocked the door curiously and looked at Tang Zheng worriedly. Finally, they looked at the Empyrean fairy. She had the highest cultivation level among all of them. Everyone wanted to know if she had any tricks up her sleeves. How could the Empyrean fairy not know what they were thinking? After pondering for a while, she shook her head and sighed. Let's take it one step at a time. Everyone, you have to believe in him. He just inherited the Tao inside of Ancestor Fuxi, so he won't be in any danger. The Empyrean fairy's confidence in Tang Zheng was unprecedentedly high, so she encouraged everyone. Hearing this, everyone's hearts finally returned to their stomachs. They did not continue to dwell on this issue. Instead, they looked at him with interest, wanting to see what would happen. In the dragon's seal, all the dragon souls gradually settled in the 9 main meridians, almost bursting the main meridians. Tang Zheng was well aware of the danger he was in, and hurriedly urged his power, trying to guide more dragon souls into the 9th main meridian. This main meridian had fused with the dragon vein in Emperor Qin's mausoleum. It was completely different from the other main meridians. Naturally, its endurance was incomparable. Sure enough, when the extra dragon soul settled down in the 9th main meridian, the main meridian did not show any signs of exploding. Instead, it flickered with a golden light. At this moment, Tang Zheng's body seemed to have become transparent. The 9th main meridian was clear and distinct, like a spine that ran through Tang Zheng's entire body. The others watched this scene in shock and looked at each other in dismay. Although there are quite a few dragon souls in the 9th main meridian, the energy of these dozens of dragon souls is still too strong. I am still in great danger, so I have to think of a way to restrain the energy of these dragon souls so that they won't explode immediately. This way, I can slowly digest the dragon souls in the future. In the face of danger, he thought of a solution for himself. However, how could it be a simple matter to restrain the energy of these dragon souls? Since the chaotic Vajra spell has reached the indestructible realm, then my body will not explode from the dragon soul for the time being. Therefore, I have to have a little confidence. I can only continue to activate the Dragon God mantra and see if there is any hope of restraining the dragon soul. After some analysis, he came to this conclusion. This was a gamble, but he firmly believed that he would win. The old man had put in a lot of effort, so it was impossible for him to be finished just like that. The Dragon God mantra could restrain the dragon soul, but that was only for a short period of time. When a dragon soul had settled down in the main meridians, the dragon soul did not stay calm. Not long after, the energy of the dragon soul exploded, and it was a one-time explosion. Other than the 9th main meridian, the other 8 main meridians were actually in danger of being torn apart. He subconsciously let out a blood-curdling scream, which affected the hearts of everyone else. Why is he in so much pain? Is he in danger? Yi Ding-Dang and Wu were such calm people, but it was hard for them to hide their panic as they impatiently asked. Xiaobai was ready to make a move and wanted to rush forward. The mysterious maiden of the 9 heavens was also a little uncertain. After all, she didn't know much about the dragon clan. Shua! A golden light shot up into the sky from Tang Zheng's arm. The others only felt that the golden light was dazzling, and then they realized that the golden dragon had flown up from Tang Zheng's arm and was circling above Tang Zheng's head. The golden dragon's expression was extremely complicated as it looked at Tang Zheng thoughtfully. The others did not understand what was going on, but when they saw the golden dragon appear, they immediately asked him for a way to save him. There are too many dragon souls in his body, and this is an extremely powerful energy. His body might not be able to withstand it, and if it is not channeled, he might not even need to wait for the pure yang energy to erupt, and he might explode from the energy of the dragon soul. The golden dragon bluntly pointed out the crux of the problem. Dragon soul. The others did not understand the matter of the dragon soul, and looked at Tang Zheng suspiciously. Yes, he absorbed too many dragon souls from somewhere, which is why he is in such a situation. The golden dragon had mixed feelings. If it was another occasion, it would definitely break the pot and ask until the end. After all, in the dragon clan, It was forbidden for members of the same species to absorb each other's dragon soul. This was a despicable act that only dragon slayers would do. However, Tang Zheng had absorbed the dragon soul this time, which was equivalent to breaking the taboo of the dragon clan. Regarding this action, the golden dragon's feelings were naturally very complicated. However, it also knew that if Tang Zheng really exploded from the dragon soul, it would definitely not be good for it. After all, Tang Zheng's soul imprint was still on it, and the two of them were in a relationship where one of them would prosper and the other would suffer. When the others heard this, their hearts became heavier and they quickly asked, "Since you know the situation, do you have a way to help him?" The golden dragon hesitated for a moment, then shook its head and said, "I won't absorb the dragon's soul in his body. This is strictly forbidden by the dragon clan. As a member of the dragon clan, I will definitely not do such a thing. Why do you still care about this at a time like this?" Yi Ding impatiently urged. "Don't be stubborn. You should be flexible." The golden dragon's eyes did not waver at all. The dragon clan was very proud in their bones, and of course, there was no lack of stubbornness. Looking at its attitude, everyone already understood its thoughts. It was impossible to beg it. Then can others absorb the dragon's soul in his body? The Empyrean fairy asked curiously. The golden dragon glanced at her from the corner of its eyes. Although it would not look down on the Empyrean fairy, it still had a natural pride when it came to this matter. It said, "The dragon soul is not something that can be absorbed just because someone says so." Indeed, Tang Zheng could only absorb the dragon soul because he cultivated the dragon god art. It was almost impossible for others to do this. The others looked at each other with serious expressions. Now, it seemed that even if they wanted to save someone, there was no way. Xiaobai pouted and muttered, "How can it be so troublesome? I'm not afraid." Whoosh! It ignored Xian Envy of the Ninth Heaven's attempt to stop it. In a flash, it leaped past her and landed on Tang Zheng's shoulder. This was its favorite position, so it immediately hugged the shoulder and bit down. Hiss! Tang Zheng subconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. "Ah, Xiaobai, come back quickly." The others were frightened by this scene and screamed, but Xiaobai did not even turn his head and simply ignored them. There was only one thought in its mind. If no one else could do anything, then it would think of something on its own. Back then, in the prehistoric heavenly tomb, it had also absorbed a large portion of the Beast King's blood essence. Only then did it help Tang Zheng escape. Now that he was using the same trick again, he didn't know if it would be effective. Yi Ding and the others were extremely anxious. They wanted nothing more than to rush up and carry Xiaobai away, so as to not disturb Xiaobai. At the critical moment, the Empyrean fairy shocked the crowd and looked at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze and actually exclaimed at the same time as the golden dragon. Strange, the dragon soul was actually absorbed into Xiaobai's body. The golden dragon shouted in disbelief. Xiaobai's identity was already known. He was a descendant of the Heavens Beyond Heaven's imperial family and possessed many unimaginable abilities. However, the golden dragon still did not expect that Xiaobai could freely absorb the dragon soul, even though he did not cultivate the dragon god mantra. This ability was too shocking, even to the point of being shocked. Xiaobai did not have such complicated thoughts. Seeing the dragon's soul continuously entering his body, he puffed up his cheeks like a glutton, continuously absorbing. Not long after, Tang Zheng's painful expression eased. The others witnessed all of this with their own eyes, and as if they had seen the dawn of hope, they all revealed looks of pleasant surprise. This is working. The few of them had mixed feelings and looked at each other. Of course it worked. The dragon's soul was flowing into Little White's body at a very fast speed. The others watched this scene in fear, especially when Little White's stomach was becoming round at a speed visible to the naked eye. This caused everyone's hearts to become uneasy. They had all seen Xiaobai's transformation after absorbing the pure yang energy and other types of energy. He also became round like a little pig, and after digesting the energy, he transformed back into a complete transformation. Could it be that he was using the same trick this time and wanted to use the dragon soul to catalyze this transformation? The scarlet lunar beast looked at Xiao Bai with shining eyes, and he was not worried that Xiao Bai's body would explode from the dragon's soul. Instead, he cheered loudly. "Your Majesty is mighty." Little Yu also raised her 2 claws and clapped as if she was clapping. Xiao Bai looked at everyone proudly, as if he was saying, "Didn't you guys say that there was no way? Didn't I find a way?" Everyone did not know whether to laugh or cry, and no one paid attention to Xiao Bai's boasting. Instead, they were enjoying it. This slim chance of survival was on Xiao Bai. Tang Zheng was inside the dragon seal, and originally, he felt that his meridians were about to collapse. If it was not for the indestructible body, with his previous strength, his meridians would have been destroyed. Chapter 1266. Tang Zheng heaved a huge sigh of relief. However, his entire body and mind were focused on the dragon seal, so he didn't realize why all of this had happened. This gave him enough courage. With a low roar, he activated the dragon god technique and digested the dragon souls without stopping. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The dragon souls completely merged with his meridians. This wasn't a simple matter of settling down, but becoming a part of his body. Whoosh, whoosh. The dragon aura in Tang Zheng's body quickly rose. The dragon aura fused with his true qi and poured into his yuanying. The yuanying grew bit by bit. In addition to the flickering purple light in his eyes, a wisp of golden light also appeared. Hiss! Purple electricity flowed in and out of Yuanying's body. Its power had clearly increased. While the dragon souls increased his Yuanying, they also increased his cultivation. He obviously understood the importance of all of this. He quickly focused and refined the dragon souls bit by bit. This process was not unfamiliar to him. It was a walk in the park, but it required a lot of concentration and energy. Previously, he couldn't do this at all. Now that he focused all of his attention, the effect was obvious. The meridians in Yuanying also quickly expanded and became clearer. His bones became firmer and firmer. Little by little, he wasn't much different from a real person. With a spurt of energy, he continued to work hard to refine the dragon souls, especially the dragon souls in the 9th main meridian. The refining speed was much faster than the other meridians, and it became a vital force to be injected into the nascent soul. Boom! With a loud bang, it was as if a barrier in Tang Zheng's body had been broken. True qi rushed out of his yuanying like a flood, instantly spreading to his 8 meridians and complementing the dragon souls. Immediately after, more dragon souls were refined and continuously fed back to his yuanying. He was wild with joy. Last time, when he was dealing with the life totem, the Empyrean fairy coincidentally saved him. His cultivation broke through to the 3rd stage of the soul formation stage in one go. Just now, the barrier was broken again. His cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the 4th stage of the soul formation stage. He never thought that his cultivation would reach the 4th stage of the soul formation stage so quickly. For a moment, he was overwhelmed with emotions. However, he understood that the revolution had yet to succeed. In order to completely suppress those dragon souls, he had to persevere. Because of Xiao Bai's help, the dragon soul had been weakened a lot. Although he didn't understand what was going on, he didn't feel bad about losing these dragon souls. He wholeheartedly refined the remaining dragon souls. Just these dragon souls were enough to benefit him greatly. He had a premonition that the surprises this time were far from over. The old man's gift was not as simple as just increasing his cultivation by 1 level. His guess was very accurate. As the dragon soul continued to refine, it continuously flowed into Yuanying. Yuanying's body grew taller, and his bones crackled as if he was stretching his muscles. He was no different from a real person. The true energy in Yuanying's body continued to rise. Tiny strands of hair began to grow out from under Yuanying's skin. They were so hairy that they were no different from the hair of a real person. The smaller the difference between a nascent soul and a Taoist master, the higher the corresponding cultivation level, and the more powerful the nascent soul would be. Tang Zheng understood this very well. He immediately realized that his cultivation was still advancing by leaps and bounds. Boom! There was another thunderous explosion. The true energy in Yuanying's body gushed out like a volcanic eruption, soaring into the sky. An auspicious cloud appeared above his head, and it was constantly changing. This auspicious cloud was the result of the true energy breaking through the body's shackles and floating above his head. Not only that, but this auspicious cloud also appeared above Yuanying's head. It was no different from the one in the real world. Golden Sanskrit characters floated and sank in the auspicious cloud, faintly discernible. This was a scene that Tang Zheng couldn't see, but it really fell into the eyes of the others. Although the others had already become somewhat numb, they were still a little confused when they saw the auspicious cloud and the Sanskrit characters surging within it. These Sanskrit characters seemed to be related to the Ksitigarbha Sutra. The Empyrean fairy recognized it at a glance. The golden dragon also said in a deep voice, "This is the Ksitigarbha Sutra." The Ksitigarbha Sutra was also effective. This was something that Tang Zheng never expected. The golden Sanskrit characters gathered the powerful energy of the dragon's soul, revealing a mysterious aura. At the same time, the changes in Tang Zheng's body had already reached the peak of perfection. The loud sound was like a signal to open the curtains, and his true energy was surging. He understood what this meant and was secretly delighted. He exclaimed to himself, "The fifth stage of the soul formation realm is no longer a problem." Indeed, his true energy broke through layer after layer of barriers and really went up a level, breaking through to the fifth stage of the soul formation realm. The dragon soul's effect was indeed not limited to the previous results. The fifth stage of the soul formation realm caused a lot of changes to his body and mind. His true energy became richer and richer, and the refining of the dragon's soul also became faster. However, the true energy after the refining of the dragon's soul didn't all gather in Yuanying. Instead, it flew into the sky and merged with the auspicious cloud above his head. How will the Ksitigarbha Sutra change all of this? He was looking forward to it. The Ksitigarbha Sutra was something that Dizong of Goguryeo had learned in his life. It contained mysteries that ordinary people couldn't understand, and he couldn't see through 1/10,000th of it. That was why he was so full of expectations. The Sanskrit characters were changing constantly. The energy of the dragon's soul completely transformed into these Sanskrit characters. It seemed that the Sanskrit characters required a lot of energy, which was quite different from the Sanskrit characters that were transformed when he recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra. The Sanskrit characters became brighter and brighter, like golden light, with a sacred aura that made people feel as if they were bathed in the spring breeze. The originally anxious crowd quieted down a lot. They were less anxious, and their eyes became clear. More than half of their anxiety seemed to have been swept away in an instant. The Sanskrit characters actually have such an effect. Everyone looked at each other. They already knew how extraordinary the Sanskrit characters were without anyone's guidance. The Sanskrit characters gathered together and changed again. A golden lotus was born from the Sanskrit characters. This lotus was budding, waiting to bloom, as more and more dragon souls were refined. Ha! One of the petals opened, releasing waves of golden light. A refreshing aura was emitted from the petals, hitting people in the face. Whoosh! Everyone subconsciously took a deep breath and calmed down. All of their anxiety was completely swept away, and they entered a very mysterious state. This state was very important for cultivators. The Empyrean fairy immediately noticed this and quickly calmed down. She reminded the others, saying, "Don't worry about him. He's definitely fine." From his various reactions, she could already confirm this. No matter what happened to him, this moment is very important for everyone. Focus your mind and focus on cultivating. It will be very beneficial for all of you. The Empyrean fairy advised sincerely. After saying this, she closed her eyes and sat down cross-legged beside Tang Zheng. She was like an old monk in meditation, completely immersed in her own world of cultivation. The others looked at each other, although their reactions were not as fast as the Empyrean fairy. After her reminder, it was as if they woke up from a dream. They all sat cross-legged beside Tang Zheng. Chapter 1267. Everyone sat down cross-legged, forming a complicated flower petal shape. Even the big and small scarlet moon beasts calmed down, as if they had understood something. They were immersed in their own world. The Brahma lotus bloomed, emitting a formless aura that enveloped their heads. Their hearts were calm, and their power circulated automatically. Many obstacles that they couldn't pass before were unknowingly passed without any obstruction. The shock in their hearts was imaginable, but no one wanted to miss such a good opportunity. Tang Zheng didn't know that he had brought so many benefits to the others. He was completely immersed in the joy of breaking through to the 5th stage of the divine transformation realm. In addition, the extra dragon soul merged with the Brahma lotus. A divine aura was emitted from the Brahma lotus, integrating into every meridian and every part of his body and mind. The dragon soul in his meridian actually calmed down for the first time. This wasn't as simple as settling down in his meridian. It had completely calmed down, and it was no longer as restless as before. This was the thing that surprised and delighted him the most. The Brahma lotus actually has such a miraculous effect. Tang Zheng was speechless. Xiaobai had already swelled into a ball, and its eyes were listless. However, its eyes were still filled with worry when it looked at Tang Zheng. It seemed that it still wanted to absorb more dragon soul to help alleviate his symptoms. Suddenly, Xiaobai's eyes revealed a surprised expression because it realized that it couldn't absorb the dragon soul anymore. The dragon soul seemed to be restrained by a mysterious force, not allowing it to leave his body. It had no choice but to release its mouth. It pouted its pink lips and round cheeks and stared straight at Tang Zheng. "Master, what happened to you?" Xiaobai muttered to itself. Tang Zheng had just calmed down the dragon soul, so he couldn't hear Xiaobai's voice. However, the stone in his heart was finally put down. Although the dragon soul wasn't completely refined, it was truly calmed down. He could completely digest the dragon soul bit by bit in the future, and he didn't need to worry about the dragon soul bursting his body. Suddenly, the scene in front of him changed, and the steel forest disappeared. Tang Zheng was startled. He retreated from the dragon seal and saw a circle of people sitting around him. At the same time, the Brahma lotus above his head disappeared, and the formless aura disappeared. The others opened their eyes at the same time. Every pair of eyes was brimming with pleasant surprise. It seemed that they had gained a lot. When they saw Tang Zheng open his eyes, their attention was also attracted, and they looked at him with burning eyes. "Master, you're finally all right." Xiaobai, who was lying on his shoulder, was the first to speak weakly, but the joy in his words could not be concealed. Tang Zheng glanced to the side and saw the round Xiaobai. How could he not understand? It turned out that at the critical moment, it was Xiaobai who had absorbed the dragon soul and helped him overcome the first obstacle. If he didn't have Xiaobai's help, he wasn't sure if he could rely on the Ksitigarbha Sutra to completely turn the situation around. "Xiaobai, is there anything wrong with your body?" Tang Zheng stroked Xiaobai's fur and asked with concern. Xiaobai lazily pouted and said, "Master, I'm fine. I just want to sleep." Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. He was very clear about Xiaobai's nature. Once it wanted to sleep, it would be because it had absorbed too much that it couldn't digest. Then it would be like hibernation, needing time to digest it bit by bit. He patted Xiaobai's head, and Xiaobai obediently closed its eyes, breathing in and out slowly. His gaze turned and fell on the others. In particular, they were looking at him with particularly complicated expressions. Tang Zheng rubbed his nose and asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Yi Dingdang couldn't wait to stand up and excitedly rushed to Tang Zheng's side, saying, "You were really in danger just now." Everyone was helpless, and the golden dragon didn't help. Only Xiao Bai rushed forward to help you. We were really worried to death. This string of words instantly occupied Tang Zheng's mind. It spun rapidly, and he immediately understood the meaning behind it. The golden dragon had a way to absorb those dragon souls, but it was a dragon. It had always despised the actions of dragon slayers, so how could it do such a thing? The others were not dragons, so it was even more impossible for them to absorb dragon souls. Only Xiao Bai was an exception. It was a member of the royal family of the sky beyond heaven, and its mysteries were far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Therefore, it was a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers and accidentally absorbed the dragon soul. Hearing this, the golden dragon didn't panic. Instead, it looked at Tang Zheng with an unfriendly gaze. Ever since it found out that Tang Zheng had those dragon souls in his body, it became suspicious in its heart. Dragon souls weren't cabbages that could be found anywhere. There was definitely something strange about Tang Zheng having those dragon souls in his body. There were many things that the golden dragon didn't know. The golden dragon's vigilance could be imagined, but it was also human nature. Tang Zheng could hear the anger in Yi Ding Dong's words towards the golden dragon for not saving it. He looked at the golden dragon without batting an eyelid. The golden dragon floated beside him, its pair of dragon eyes staring straight at Tang Zheng. I know you have a lot of questions. I'll give you the answers in a while. Tang Zheng gave a simple explanation. The Dragon Clan and the Langya Pavilion were secrets of the Dragon Clan, so it was not appropriate to disclose them to the public. Even if it was the Empyrean Fairy and the others, without the Golden Dragon's permission, he would not casually reveal them. The Golden Dragon hesitated for a moment, but it understood Tang Zheng's good intentions and agreed. Seeing that both sides had reached a compromise, although the others were also quite critical of the Golden Dragon's actions, they didn't continue to pursue it. On the contrary, the Empyrean Fairy was more interested in Brahma Lotus. She had personally experienced the power of Brahma Lotus and knew very well what it meant. Others could benefit a lot from it, but as the master, he would definitely benefit more. What's with the lotus on top of your head? The Empyrean Fairy asked casually. Tang Zheng subconsciously touched the top of his head and said, "You should have guessed it. This is an evolution of the Ksitigarbha Sutra, so let's call it Brahma Lotus for the time being." Do you know what it's used for? Tang Zheng recalled the scene of Brahma Lotus comforting the dragon's soul and said after some deliberation, "I really don't know much about its use, but it should be more beneficial than harmful." The Empyrean Fairy stared at him without blinking. If it was someone else who said this, she would definitely have punched them. What did he mean by more beneficial than harmful? What harm was there to it? It was clearly 1,000 or even 10,000 benefits. She took a deep breath and asked, "Then you definitely don't know what we did just now." Tang Zheng looked at her blankly and shook his head. "Then take a look and see if there are any changes in everyone." The Empyrean Fairy didn't point it out, but suggested. Tang Zheng narrowed his eyes and glanced at everyone one by one. Gradually, his eyes flashed, and he couldn't hide his shock. How did everyone's cultivation level increase? It wouldn't be surprising if only one person's cultivation level increased, but the key was that everyone's cultivation level increased. Even the Scarlet Lunar Bee's strength increased greatly. This was too strange. Looking at his reaction, the Empyrean Fairy knew that he wasn't faking it. He really didn't know that Brahma Lotus had such great power. "Do you understand now?" she asked. Tang Zheng didn't know what to do and asked curiously, "What's going on?" "This is the effect of Brahma Lotus. It helped all of us increase our cultivation level." The Empyrean Fairy didn't dawdle and said directly, "What?" Tang Zheng was shocked and stood up immediately. He looked down at everyone and asked in disbelief, "How can Brahma Lotus have such a great effect? And it's for all of you." He was also surprised that Brahma Lotus could calm the dragon's soul, but not to this extent. After all, it was for him. But now, not only was Brahma Lotus useful to him, but it was also beneficial to others. Wasn't Brahma Lotus a little too powerful? This is a good thing. Don't make such a big fuss. The Empyrean Fairy advised. Tang Zheng could only smile bitterly. Can you summon Brahma Lotus at any time in the future? The Empyrean fairy asked hesitantly. No one would complain about having a higher cultivation level. Since Brahma Lotus was so powerful and could increase one's cultivation level, the Empyrean fairy obviously wouldn't miss out on it. She didn't hold back and asked directly. I should be able to. I can give a try. Tang Zheng stuttered. He didn't know the specifics. He didn't have any experience. Since Brahma Lotus was related to the Ksitigarbha Sutra, he might as well activate the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Sure enough, a dense mist rose from the top of his head. Then, a Brahma Lotus appeared. It really works. The Empyrean fairy cheered. The others had tasted the sweetness, and when they saw this scene, they couldn't hide the joy on their faces. A mysterious aura once again surged out from the Brahma Lotus, enveloping everyone's heads, giving them the urge to sit down again. However, Tang Zheng could summon Brahma Lotus at any time, so there was no need to be in such a hurry to cultivate. Tang Zheng was still at a loss and asked, "Is this okay?" Many people wanted to roll their eyes. Of course it was okay. Wu could not hold it in and said mischievously, "You are like a big magnet. From now on, when you train, I'm afraid we will all have to sit around you." Although Wu and Yi Ding Dang were cultivators, they could still enjoy the effects of Brahma Lotus, so the two of them rejoiced. Naturally, they would not let go of this good opportunity. Brahma Lotus was used on a person's mind, bringing them into a very mysterious cultivation realm. It was universal for both martial artists and cultivators. How could it be that exaggerated? Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. However, the others did not laugh. Instead, they said seriously, "It's not exaggerated at all. Furthermore, we have to keep this a secret. Otherwise, you will become a hot cake. I don't know how many people will want to get close to you." After saying this, everyone realized the seriousness of the matter. The pursuit of strength was endless. If other people really knew about the effect of Brahma Lotus on cultivation, then countless people would rush to him like a flock of ducks. Not only women, even men would be willing to give themselves to him. The few of them exchanged glances with tacit understanding. They had already reached an agreement, which was that they had to keep this matter a secret and not let unrelated people know. Author's digression. I'm so tired today. I only have this one chapter. Sorry. Chapter 1268. Seeing that he had become so popular, Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was already late, and they had made such a big commotion. Everyone was excited and didn't feel sleepy at all. But when he saw the golden dragon's heart filled with curiosity, Tang Zheng knew that he had a belly full of questions. He could only let everyone return to their rooms to rest. He and the golden dragon were left alone in the practice room. Xiaobai slept on Tang Zheng's shoulder, his little claws grabbing onto his collar, unwilling to let go. Tang Zheng also let him do this. The golden dragon rose into the air, invisibly distancing himself from Tang Zheng. He looked down at him like a tiger watching its prey and said, "I need an explanation." Tang Zheng looked at him indifferently and nodded. "I will give you an explanation." "Good, then I'm all ears." "I absorbed the dragon soul, many, many dragon souls." Tang Zheng's first words made the golden dragon's eyelids jump. The long dragon whiskers at the corners of his mouth were pulled straight, like sharp swords. The golden dragon's breathing became heavier. He glared fiercely at Tang Zheng and said through gritted teeth, "This is a crime that only a despicable and shameless dragon slayer would commit." A crime. A single sentence had already determined the nature of this kind of behavior. Tang Zheng didn't get angry. He understood the golden dragon's thoughts and said, "This is indeed something that only a dragon slayer would do, but I'm not a dragon slayer." "You have already done it." The golden dragon reminded him. "If I told you that it was a senior from the dragon clan who purposely poured the dragon soul into my body, would you believe me?" Tang Zheng probed. The golden dragon's round eyes were filled with disbelief. He asked back, "Do you think I would believe it? How could there be other dragons in this world?" The golden dragon was certain that there were no other dragons in this world. There was a certain connection between dragons, so he was very certain. "There isn't any in this world, but there is in the dragon's seal." These words caused the golden dragon's heartstrings to tremble. He found it even more unbelievable and shouted, "Impossible!" Although there were countless dragons entering and exiting the dragon seal and arriving at Langia, the dragons were sometimes isolated from each other, and it was impossible for them to meet. Tang Zheng said that he had met other dragons in Langia. If this was not a fantasy, then what was? The golden dragon looked at Tang Zheng suspiciously, thinking that he must be deceiving it. Dragons hated being lied to the most. Tang Zheng hesitated. The golden dragon was one of his most powerful allies. It was impossible to have a grudge against it. He had to win its trust. Although the matter of the inverted Langia was mysterious, it was still related to the dragon clan after all. Even an outsider like him knew about it. There was no need to keep hiding it from the golden dragon. Seeing him hesitate and not speak, the golden dragon's claws slowly clenched into fists and slowly wandered over his head. Hostility was gathering bit by bit. Tang Zheng suddenly raised his head and met the golden dragon's eyes. He said, "What I'm going to tell you this time is one of the dragon clan's biggest secrets. You have to promise that you won't reveal it to anyone else. Then I'll tell you." One of the dragon clan's biggest secrets? The golden dragon's expression was a bit funny. He was a dragon. How could there be a secret of the dragon clan that he didn't know about? And an outsider knew about it. Seeing that Tang Zheng didn't seem to be joking, the golden dragon pondered for a moment and said heavily, "Okay, I promise you. I'd like to see what secrets of the dragon clan you can tell me. Have you been to the dragon seal, outside of Langia?" Tang Zheng asked straightforwardly. The golden dragon was stunned by the question and immediately reacted. He asked in disbelief, "Have you been there?" Tang Zheng nodded truthfully. "I have indeed been there, and I found a place." The golden dragon's eyes were about to burst. He pointed his claws at Tang Zheng and said, "You're too daring. Don't you know that it's a place that the dragon clan strictly forbids?" Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and said, "It's not like I'm a dragon." Hiss! The golden dragon sucked in a breath of anger, but there was nothing he could do. At the same time, he was also full of curiosity about the area outside of Langia. He couldn't wait to ask, "What place did you find?" Tang Zheng took a few steps forward, as if he wanted to close the distance between them. Four eyes stared straight at each other. He opened his mouth wide and said with a cadence, "The other Langia is just an inverted one." The golden dragon trembled all over and shouted, "What? The other Langia is impossible, impossible." In the dragon clan's belief, there was only one Langia. How could there be a second Langia? Tang Zheng ignored his shock and said to himself, "There's one more thing you definitely can't think of. Do you know what's stored in this Langia?" The golden dragon slowly shook his head. He was indeed shocked speechless by this series of news. The Steel Forest, which is the dragon clan's graveyard, has countless dragon souls. Tang Zheng announced the answer in a deep voice. The golden dragon was already stunned. The words dragon's soul echoed in his mind. He suddenly realized that no wonder Tang Zheng absorbed so many dragon souls. It turned out that he absorbed them from this upside-down Langia. In fact, for many years, the golden dragon had always thought that the dragon clan's graveyard had long been visited by the dragon slayers and plundered it clean. He didn't expect that there would still be a remnant of the graveyard. He rejoiced, guessing that the dragon clan's ancestors must have prepared for a rainy day and thought of this method. The complicated look in his eyes was difficult to get rid of. He asked, "In other words, you absorbed the dragon souls in the graveyard? Isn't this what the dragon slayers did in the past? Back then, you avoided the dragon slayers, but now you didn't escape from your evil hands." Tang Zheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Didn't I tell you? Someone deliberately injected the dragon soul into my body." Tang Zheng decided that he couldn't say it step by step. He had to say it all in one breath. Otherwise, the golden dragon's anger would accumulate to the peak. Before he could finish, he couldn't help but attack. Hearing Tang Zheng's tireless words, the golden dragon's worldview was completely subverted. Especially when he heard the appearance of the old man on the dragon boat. He was even more excited. There is no doubt that this was the best of the dragon clan's ancestors. He chose Tang Zheng, but he misunderstood Tang Zheng. Suddenly, a sense of shame arose spontaneously. Looking at Tang Zheng again, His gaze became more and more complicated. The golden dragon's anger subsided, but his mood didn't calm down at all. Instead, it was like a stormy sea rolling up huge waves. That's how it is. When Tang Zheng finished speaking, the golden dragon was still immersed in it, completely unable to extricate himself. Those dragon souls were a gift from the old man. The golden dragon smacked his lips and said with mixed feelings. Tang Zheng nodded and said, "I think so. He wants to improve your cultivation so that you have the ability to stop the dragon slayers." The old man said that the dragon slayers have already come to this world. "We are in imminent danger." Perhaps he was worried that I wouldn't be able to deal with it. So he came up with this plan. The golden dragon took a deep breath and digested all of its anger, especially when it heard the old man say that Tang Zheng was a surprise weapon to deal with the dragon slayers. It couldn't help but recall the bits and pieces of contact it had with Tang Zheng. His life experience could be summed up with the word strange. Whether it was his identity as a Skywalker, or his complicated relationship with Chi Yu, the Dragon Clan, or the Fu Clan, there were very few people who had such a complicated relationship with him. Since the old man had chosen him, the Golden Dragon naturally didn't dare to have any complaints. Although the Dragon Clan was proud, they didn't dare to have the slightest disrespect to their ancestors. That was a crime of treason. The method to sense the Dragon Slayers can only be used by the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan is also the target of the Dragon Slayers. I will teach you this divine ability now. In the future, when you meet the Dragon Slayers, even if you can't defeat them, you can still stay away from them. Tang Zheng was open and above board. He didn't have the intention to take the Dragon Clan's divine ability for himself. The Golden Dragon was overjoyed. If he had this method, then wouldn't he have the ability to protect himself? At least he wouldn't be as passive as the Dragon Clan in the past. He wouldn't be chased by the Dragon Slayers until they realized it was too late. This is what the ancestor taught you. Can you teach it to me? The Golden Dragon's heart was itching, but he still pretended to ask. Tang Zheng smiled. This is the Dragon Clan's divine ability. You are also a member of the Dragon Clan. Even an outsider like me has the qualifications to learn it. So how can you not have the qualifications? I'm afraid that the old man's original intention was to borrow your hands to pass down this divine ability. The Golden Dragon let out a sigh of relief. He was overjoyed and said excitedly, "Then I'll have to trouble you." Tang Zheng shook his head and pointed with his finger. A golden light shot out from his fingertip and with a so sound, entered the Golden Dragon's forehead. The Golden Dragon didn't even have time to react before he discovered that there was an additional golden text in his mind. He quickly calmed his mind and quietly felt the profoundness within. Tang Zheng's thoughts moved. He had also learned this divine ability, but he didn't have time to test it out. Since the old man said that the Dragon Slayers had already come to this world, then he should investigate his whereabouts. He calmed his mind and found that he had immediately entered a state of selflessness. This was many times faster than when he entered this state before. He knew that this was the effect of Fan Lian. He muttered something under his breath, and his fingers flipped, forming a few hand seals. Suddenly, a mysterious feeling spread out from his heart. It was as if he had grown a clairvoyant's eyes. In an instant, a blurry figure appeared in front of his eyes. This figure was too blurry. He couldn't see it clearly, but he could feel that it was a human, and a strong one at that. This feeling was like using a telescope to observe others. It was very strange. He was immersed in it and constantly urged his cultivation, as if he wanted to see more clearly. Is he the Dragon Slayers? Tang Zheng's mind was filled with doubt. He felt that this person was still very far away from him. This feeling was very mysterious. There was no concrete evidence. It was all based on his own heart. It must be him. Tang Zheng gradually became certain. It really was as the old man said. The Dragon Slayers had already come to this world and was very close to him. If it wasn't for the fact that he received the guidance of the old man, then he would have been caught unprepared when the Dragon Slayers chased after him. Thousands of miles away, in the middle of the sea, a person walked on the waves. Behind him was the rolling sea. White waves rose and fell one after another. One after another, the fish flipped over, their bellies turning white, dying an unnatural death in the waves, all of them floating up. Chapter 1269. The Dragon Slayer was very confused by this feeling of being watched. This was something that had never happened before. It was so mysterious that he couldn't tell if he was imagining things or if it was real. However, he quickly confirmed that this feeling was real. He was indeed being spied on. He raised his eyebrows, and his anger was completely exposed. The seawater under his feet began to boil fiercely. With him, as the center, all the fish within a few meters all flipped up from the water. "Who is it?" he roared, and his voice was quickly transmitted. Tang Zheng's brain felt like it was pricked by a needle. The image in front of him disappeared. He broke out in cold sweat and was still in shock. Although he didn't hear the words, "Who is it?" he had an ominous premonition as if he had been discovered. Could it be that this supernatural power has a drawback? Not only can it sense the Dragon Slayer, but it can also be captured by him? He frowned. The tingling sensation had completely disappeared, and there were no sequelae. However, the words, "acting rashly and alerting the enemy," appeared in his mind. Although this rash casting of the spell had yielded results and confirmed the arrival of the Dragon Slayer, it had definitely alerted the Dragon Slayer. Everything has its own destiny. Since it has already happened, there's no need to regret it. Tang Zheng took a deep breath and put away his complicated thoughts. "I just hope the Dragon Slayer won't find me because of this." The old man had once said that the Dragon Slayer's perception of him was very subtle and wouldn't easily sense him. That was why he was a surprise troop. The Dragon Slayer shouldn't be able to sense his location. Thinking of this, he was slightly relieved. His guess was correct. In the sea, the Dragon Slayer stopped for a long time and circulated his power. He also wanted to find out what was going on or who was spying on him. However, in the end, he had no choice but to give up. There was indeed no trace to be found. His eyes were as cold as a 10,000-year-old glacier, but he still couldn't see through the mystery. Could it be that there's a peerless master in this world who discovered my tracks? He suddenly thought. The Dragon Slayer traveled through many worlds. Of course, he would encounter many local masters. However, as he absorbed more and more dragon souls, his strength became stronger and stronger. He rarely encountered opponents. His confidence was inflated, but he didn't expect to encounter such a situation, causing him to become cautious. He looked around and found that this world was indeed very different from the world he had been to before. At least he saw many huge ships that were far away, which was something that other worlds did not have. He didn't know that it was a product of technology, so he didn't care. His goal was the Dragon Clan. Everything else was secondary. This was also the principle that he had always believed in. It was best to avoid unnecessary trouble and kill the Dragon Clan in one strike and obtain the Dragon Soul. After standing still for a long time, his mind was filled with thousands of thoughts. He temporarily put aside the doubts in his heart and set his sights on the Dragon Clan. "Dragon Clan, I can already sense your presence. Wait for me, I'm coming." The coastline was in the distance. His goal was to cross the coastline and head north. The Golden Dragon recovered. It had already learned the ability to sense the Dragon Slayer. It impatiently used it, but it only had a very vague feeling. It did not see the figure of the Dragon Slayer. But one thing was certain: the Dragon Slayer had definitely come to this world. Danger was approaching. When Tang Zheng heard about the Golden Dragon's feelings, he muttered in his heart. Why could he see the vague figure of the Dragon Slayer, but the Golden Dragon couldn't? The Golden Dragon's strength was not lower than his at all. Of course, it was better not to say such words. Otherwise, the Golden Dragon would definitely be very depressed. It was a dragon, but it couldn't compare to an outsider. Since the ancestor said that you are a secret weapon, then it is to protect your existence. Now that I am with you, you will be implicated by me. For your safety and the hope of the Dragon Clan, I must leave you. The Golden Dragon's words shocked Tang Zheng. He didn't think of this at all. It seemed that he was already used to the Golden Dragon's existence. The Golden Dragon looked at him with a burning gaze and said, "In the past, You used a soul imprint to control me. I must have been very dissatisfied. But now that you have been chosen, for the sake of the Dragon Clan's survival, those dissatisfaction have disappeared. I sincerely submit to you as long as you can let the Dragon Clan completely get rid of the shadow of the Dragon Slayer. The Golden Dragon's words were sincere, causing Tang Zheng to be moved. Just as the Golden Dragon said, its existence would indeed expose Tang Zheng. Leaving was the best protection. It was not afraid of death, or it could be said that it was willing to sacrifice itself to protect Tang Zheng. This made him have mixed feelings. Actually, you don't have to do this. This time, there's only one Dragon Slayer. With so many of us, we might not be his opponent. Killing the Dragon Slayer will be just right to take revenge for the Dragon Clan. Tang Zheng earnestly advised. The Golden Dragon stubbornly shook its head. It's not as simple as you think. The Dragon Slayer is not a group that fights alone. Although only one Dragon Slayer has arrived this time, there might be more reinforcements later. So, killing one Dragon Slayer is far from enough. After pausing for a moment, the Golden Dragon continued. Moreover, if we are too strong and arouse the Dragon Slayer's vigilance, he will spread the news and attract more Dragon Slayer. At that time, we will be even less of a match. Tang Zheng was silent. He had to admit that the Golden Dragon was very thoughtful. Are you really going to leave? Tang Zheng asked with some reluctance. The Golden Dragon nodded. Yes, I've made up my mind. In fact, if Tang Zheng did not want it to leave, it would have nowhere to go with the Soul Brand. However, looking at the Golden Dragon's eyes, Tang Zheng really could not bear to use this method to stop it. Moreover, it was for his own good, or rather for everyone else's good. It was using itself to attract the Dragon Slayer's firepower. I have a Soul Brand connection with you, so once I am attacked by the Dragon Slayer and my life is on the line, you will also sense it. At that time, you will definitely know who the Dragon Slayer is. Keep a close eye on him, and you can slowly plan. The Golden Dragon was like a martyr, full of heroism as it spoke. Tang Zheng looked at the Golden Dragon with a complicated expression. He did not expect it to make such a choice in the end, nor did he expect it to leave under such circumstances. We are all straightforward people, so don't dawdle. I will leave first. Thank you for telling me about the Dragon Clan's secret. The Golden Dragon was carefree and full of heroism. It stared deeply at Tang Zheng and said earnestly, "The Dragon Clan's hope is in your hands. You must not let down the ancestors' expectations. You must ruthlessly deal with those bastards, the Dragon Slayer. It's best if they completely disappear from this world." At the end of its words, the Golden Dragon gritted its teeth. Anger and hatred seemed to be leaking from the gaps between its teeth. Since it had already said so much, what else could Tang Zheng say? He could only nod heavily and promise, "Don't worry, the Dragon Slayer is our common enemy. I will definitely not let them have an easy time. I'm leaving." The Golden Dragon soared into the sky, turned into a golden light, and disappeared from the training room. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.